clips.
And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And $19.95 plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell. Right, tubes, another one of Gabe's Clips. So I made it for 9 o'clock this morning. So welcome to today's Daily PoliTITS. If you like politics, but are sick of all the tits, then get your fix from this Daily PoliTITS fix. So the concept format is very simple. Go around and compare notes from as many English-speaking news holes as I can. So we're comparing the likes of Reuters. They're touching on how the call from the Democrats are for Biden to step down is getting louder after the shit show of the debate with Trump. So we're looking at Reuters, the BBC's. That's just selling me Despicable Me right now. Have a look at the Sky Newsies. If the YouTube streams decide to work. I don't know what it is, but the YouTube has been running extremely slow recently, as you can kind of see here. It's not like YouTube to be running like that, to be honest. Well, try and look at Sky News. If the YouTubes decide to work. Have a look at Al Jazeera, RT, Press TV with a wee bit of George Galloway on it, France 24. It'll be interesting with the fallout from the French elections. We'll have a look at the Germans, DW News. Stick a wee pause there, get at the top of the hour. Why the hell is the YouTube's not working properly? Or some of them. It's running slow as shite. For some reason. Now, that's just on the hour, so I'm going to jump to Sky RT and get the top of the news.
Down on a right cooperation.
The Rumble player is not the bestest.
The headlines on RT International and forging that multipolar world. Vladimir Putin arriving in the capital of Kazakhstan for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit with 16 nations in attendance, including leaders, for example, from China and Turkey. Ukraine rejects
Turkey.
a ceasefire.
When did they change
Hungary's
Turkey's
proposal is
name,
shot
man?
Down on arrival in Kiev. A conflict is brewing among the military leadership in the country. Some parliament members claim a new Maidan is on the horizon.
Probably a new Maidan awaits us, even more ruthless and even more destructive.
And as the EU pushes Africa to follow a green agenda, the bloc's been caught with its hand in the coal bucket as Brussels digs deep into its pockets to expand its mining operations.
Uh-oh.
All right, a lot of moving and shaking on today's geopolitical chessboard.
I'm moving and shaking.
About with you today here on RT International. It's so good of you to join us. So straight to our top story right now to kick off this hour, as Vladimir Putin has arrived in the capital of Kazakhstan as the summit for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization kicks off. Topping the agenda, strengthening regional security and bilateral ties.
The line is in the sand. The teams are taking their place. The war is on you all. Nothing says music to me. Nothing says news to me like some TikTok, some dramatic TikTok music. It's like a fucking TikTok video, man.
All right, so just for a moment here, let's dive into what the organization really is all about, because the SCO is a group of Eurasian states consisting of 9 members. It's also set to welcome Belarus into the fold, and the organization represents
Soviet
about
states,
40% of
China.
the global population. and roughly a quarter of the world's economy. Now, established in 2001, its main aim is to ensure regional security. And standing by in Astana, covering the conference for us, RT's Donald Corder. I spoke with him just a short time ago.
It's the day before the official start of the 24th summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization here in Astana, but things are already beginning to kick off. Today, Vladimir Putin has a number of bilateral meetings lined up with world leaders like the presidents of Turkey, Pakistan, Mongolia, Azerbaijan, and of course China. And Xi
When did Turkey change its name to Turkey?
in the run-up to this momentous occasion,
I must have missed this.
foreshadowing new horizons and universally beneficial cooperation in the future
In the
for
morning,
the organization.
DJ?
We Chinese believe that in every challenge lies an opportunity, and that challenges and opportunities are interchangeable. We need to foster new opportunities amid
Order
crises and
out
open
of
up new
chaos.
horizons on a shifting landscape. We will work together to build an equal and orderly multipolar world, promote universally beneficial and inclusive economic globalization, and bring about more positivity and certainty to world peace and stability.
China's president also
Well,
placed
that's a bit of
special
an
emphasis
oxymoron.
on
You're
his
setting up
country's
our own shop. This
centuries-old
is going to
friendship with
bring
the host
peace. It's
country
going to
of
bring war. In
Kazakhstan.
fact, it's
And for
brought
his
war.
part, President Tokayev said that his nation, like other middle powers around the world, are playing a vital part in ensuring international peace and stability in a world in which the traditional powerhouses are increasingly at each other's throats.
Amidst this global discord, the traditional powerhouses, the world's economic and political behemoths, are increasingly unable to work together. Against this backdrop, middle powers like Kazakhstan emerge as pivotal players with growing capacities to ensure greater stability, peace and development in their regions and beyond.
Now, in terms of other attending powers here,
The
India's
middle powers are
delegation is said
caught
to
in a
be
tug of war.
represented
They
by
win,
New
win,
Delhi's
win. Both sides
External
try to buy
Affairs
them off.
Minister, while Prime Minister Narendra Modi is
What's
rumored
there
to
not to like?
attend remotely via video call to the organization's event. Belarus is also set to expand
So
the
it's
membership
India,
of this
China,
organization,
Russia,
this year
Kazakhstan.
becoming the 10th member state of the
Pakistan's
Shanghai
flag there as
Cooperation
well.
Organization. And the president of Turkey, Erdogan, he's also going to be here representing Ankara as an observer. Now, it's important to understand that Turkey has actually, for a long time, showed very keen interest in becoming a full member state of the SCO. This is something that's raised a lot of concerns in the West regarding the exclusivity of Turkey's membership in the NATO military bloc. So no doubt this is going to raise a lot of attention in the West and around
Playing
the world,
both
along
sides.
with the rest of the aspirations of the
Playing
SCO's
both
member
sides.
states and observer states to further integrate and deepen cooperation with the multipolar world.
Meanwhile, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has met his Indian counterpart in Astana. Subramanian Jaishankar highlighted the progress that's been made in bilateral ties, while both top diplomats discussed the global strategic landscape. Now, coming up just in a few minutes here on the program on RT, activist Jose Vega dragged away from a public event in New York after he confronted a U.S. political hawk on his antagonistic stance towards China. Well, we spoke with Mr. Vega himself. We'll bring him up for you in a few minutes here. Stick around. He had some very fiery comments before he was shut down by security.
Freedom!
On the program, Ukrainian armed forces have once again attacked the city of Donetsk. This time, they targeted a local supermarket. Now, the first Republican market was heavily damaged in the attack. Reportedly, Ukraine's armed forces used
Rotiemchenko, what are we going to do today?
the
We
strike.
should kill Asda.
Emergency services were working to put out the
And we
flames.
should
We
target the
understand
Tesco.
still, there are no reports of any casualties. Meantime, while an official from Vladimir Zelensky's presidential office says it's turned down a ceasefire proposal that was hand-delivered by the Hungarian Prime Minister to Kiev, he claims that Ukraine still really wants peace. Well, the Russian Foreign Ministry responded. Have a listen.
All the words about the peace are just cover words. These are just screen words. These are just cliché words. These are words that, as a thesis, must be memorized and pronounced. There is only one goal. It was voiced by the collective West. This is the infliction of a strategic defeat on Russia.
The president of Ukraine, of course, gave the Prime Minister of Hungary the opportunity to express his opinion. We are saying that Ukraine really wants peace for itself. This is logical. For this we have a tool, the Summit on Peace, which has been held, and we are preparing for the second one.
Well, prior to Ukraine's rejection, the Hungarian Prime Minister said that a ceasefire would be a critical step towards a permanent peace deal between Moscow and Kiev. His visit came a day after Hungary assumed the rotating 6-month chairmanship of the EU Council. Of course, that's there to try and resolve issues within the EU. But following his visit, Viktor Orban highlighted his stance on the conflict, and he had some rather enlightening things to say.
The press conference was a little bit chilly because the expectation was very high and unsure. The journalists were not sure what will happen. It will be a public discussion and confrontation between the two leaders, or it will be more a cooperative statement, or what's going on. When somebody is coming to Ukraine, it's easy to forecast what will happen. Applauding, saying, "Viva Ukraine, we are with you, it's our war, blah, 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 blah," and so on. But, you know, Hungarian position is different. We don't think it's our war. It's a Ukraine-Russian war, invaded Ukraine by the Russians. And Hungary's interest is not to continue to war, but rather the peace. And I try to represent the interest of Europe in a fair and objective way, which a different attitude than regularly they used to have.
Well, as the conflict rages on across Ukraine, particularly in the east, that is, there's no longer any unified voice, apparently, in Kiev. A deputy from the Ukrainian People's Party said the top brass in the country is responsible for the tragedies that continue to unfold.
Regarding the activities of the top military leadership in 2022, in 2023 and 2024, I emphasize that this is a tragedy and the situation isn't changing. The principles of decision-making do not change, and we have a situation with the Kharkov region. There were the same intelligence warnings. Everyone reports that everything is just fine. Mined fortifications are ready to go. I draw attention to the work of the Defense Ministry and the systemic collapse of the capabilities of the armed forces of Ukraine by the Ukrainian top military command. I will also mention a number of military operations that were personally controlled by Generals Zaluzhny and Syrsky.
Ukraine is having a Game of Thrones moment, bloody and riddled with betrayal and blame games. Yes, Kiev is at war with itself.
The head of the Eastern Front, General Sodol, has killed more Ukrainian military than any Russian general. Is this really going to continue? Is it really necessary for the military to unite on the basis of hatred for their leader? Do we have to lose men and territory this way? Is this how it works? Commander-in-Chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, do you not care at all, or is this your intention?
First up in the firing line are the military top brass, whose fates are tied to Zelensky's whims and vanity, a la Iron General Valery Zaluzhny, to whether they got caught pocketing Western aid dollars, Alexei Reznikov, or to whether they've killed too many of their own.
I wrote a letter to the Security Intelligence Service with a call to open an investigation into one military general who, in my opinion, killed more Ukrainian soldiers than any Russian general. It pisses me off that combatants and brigade commanders are put on trial for the loss of an observation post, but a general is not put on trial for the loss of regions and dozens of cities and the loss of thousands of soldiers.
Cue Sodol's departure, instigated by that top dog of the Azov Brigade, which is really a whole other story. A law unto themselves, they are almost like a state within a state, greedy for power and thirsty for blood. And now rumors are swirling that General Syrsky might be staring down the barrel of an investigation for generally failing to live up to his nickname of the Butcher.
According to the source, the discontent of Zelensky and his office is connected both with the unsuccessful preparation for the Russian offensive in the Kharkov region and with a number of other issues. However, as the source alleges, the commander-in-chief is unlikely to be removed from office in the near future.
But with reports that Ukrainian forces are losing over 13,000 men on a weekly basis, one wonders how long before Syrsky's given his marching orders and Zelensky places a bet on another horse in that endlessly spinning carousel of generals. As for Zelensky, the commander-in-chief himself, well, he's also out there navigating a political minefield. His approval rating is in freefall. His ingratitude is getting irksome. His legitimacy is under scrutiny. His term expired back in May, and his plans for the next election, well, there are none. Which ironically means he's now at risk of the very thing that brought him to power in the first place: a coup.
Under the guise of holding a so-called national gathering, the attackers plan to announce the removal of the current military and political leadership of Ukraine from power. Then they hope to seize the building of the Verkhovna Rada and block its work.
And finally, Ukraine is in a fight for economic survival, in debt to the tune of $152 billion, and no honeypot from which to pay it off. Kiev has 1 month before it defaults, before Washington, the IMF, the World Bank all come knocking, looking for their pound of flesh. Oh, you thought it was all a gift to a friend in need? The Lend-Lease, for example. Did you know that the UK only paid off its Lend-Lease to the US in 2006? It took 61 years. Kiev's economy is 18 times smaller than London's, and it's running on empty. It's a perfect storm.
The possibilities of the economy have been exhausted and destroyed, first by the Russian army and then by our security
the Russians
forces.
know how to do it, don't they?
The country has
They
long
really,
stopped earning
really
money.
know how to do it.
We live at the expense of taxpayers of other countries. Now look at the opinion polls. Do you notice anything strange? From an economic point of view, we have become a closed country. Both inside and out, probably a new Maidan awaits us. Even more ruthless and even more destructive. And the trigger for this will be a complete collapse of economic stability. Still living off the help of the West.
So yes, winter is coming for Ukraine in more ways than one. And as the elites feel that noose tighten, with political careers at stake, with blank checks at risk, and with the sense that someday soon the people might come baying for their blood, well, sometimes, just to survive, the only thing left is to take out a knife and look for a back.
Well, surprise, surprise, the EU's green policy is not so clean after all. While the bloc for years has tried to, should we say, export its virtue signaling agenda to Africa, it's now funneling its own funds to dig up more dependable fossil fuels. Let's shed some light on this with our contributor.
European officials have long tried to sell their citizens on the idea that their cash needs to be sent overseas to developing countries where it then disappears, presumably into projects that mitigate the harm done overseas by climate change caused by selfish Westerners, we're told. Like for energy-efficient buildings in Nepal or for mobile apps to predict climate change in Zimbabwe. Those are actually real EU projects brought to you by...
So that's what Russia today is leading with. Let's have a wee shifty at what the BBCs are leading with. The nutty professor looking guy, man. In the room with some dum.
Live from London, this is BBC News. Parties make their final pitches to the public on the last full day of general election campaigning. A Conservative cabinet minister tells the BBC he accepts polls are pointing to a massive Labour majority.
I'm Jessica Parker with the Labour campaign as Sir Keir Starmer embarks on a last-dash tour of Wales, Scotland
British
and
summertime,
England.
you've got to fucking love it,
Barrow
man.
heads towards Jamaica, where it's expected to bring life-threatening winds and torrential rains. And the mother of the missing teenager, Jay Slater, reveals her pain and agony after police end the search for her son in Tenerife.
That's a shame, man. Looks like the dude is genuinely missing.
Hello, I'm Marianne Mashiri. A very warm welcome to BBC News today. On the last day of election campaigning, a Conservative cabinet minister has told the BBC he accepts that if the polls are correct, the Labour Party is heading for the largest majority this country has ever seen. Mel Stride's comments come as party leaders head into their final campaign
So it's not
events.
even like
The
ever
Prime
seen
Minister
in the
Rishi
last
Sunak has
20
told the
years,
Conservative
40,
Party
30,
rally
50.
He would fight for every vote, while Labour leader Keir Starmer insists people who want change have to vote for it. Here's our political correspondent, Helen Catt.
The Labour leader says this morning that he wants people to have more money in their pockets. And if Labour win on Thursday, he says he wants them to be better off in 5 years' time than they are now. He also told The Times he wants public services to improve by then too. But he said he would need a strong mandate, lots of votes in support.
I think it might even be the American one they were talking about.
A message he was reiterating yesterday on the campaign trail.
And a 60% turnout is actually looked upon as a good one.
The polls do not predict the future.
Only 60% of people who even bother to register to vote can be asked turning up.
Every single vote counts. Every single vote has to be earned, and we have to make sure that until the polls close at 10 o'clock on Thursday, we are earning the respect and the trust of the confidence of voters across the country, because change will only come if you absolutely vote for it.
Rishi Sunak will aim his message directly at wavering voters later. The Tories will claim a small number of people in tight races could stop a big Labour win by lending the Conservatives their vote. He'll agree that a big Labour majority is not a foregone conclusion, but unlike Keir Starmer, he'll warn it would be damaging if it happened, as he did in a speech to supporters last night.
On Thursday, it is not a by-election. It is not a referendum on our party or the past. It is a choice about the future of our country and what that future means for you and your family. If there is an unchecked, unaccountable Labour Party in power with a supermajority, think what that would mean for everyone. A Labour Party with a blank cheque to do whatever they want.
Also talking about lending votes, the Liberal Democrat leader. Sir Ed Davey told The Guardian he thinks people are getting into the swing of tactical voting, where people who usually back different parties support the candidate best placed to beat the Tories. He claims that will make this election a once-in-a-century chance to change the political geography of the UK. Yesterday, he criticised the Conservatives' ability not just to govern, but to be in opposition too.
The Conservatives have been a failed government. They'd be a failed opposition. They're so divided, they can't even provide a strong opposition. If people want a party that's got principles and values and ideas and great local champions to oppose whoever is in government, the Liberal Democrats are here to do that.
We fought a really strong campaign.
The SNP is claiming today that the result in Scotland is too close to call and says a Labour government in Westminster would mean more austerity, which Labour has previously denied. All parties know they don't have long left now to make up voters' minds. Helen Catt, BBC News.
Well, an indication of just where the Conservatives see things heading has come this morning from the Work and Pensions Secretary, Mel Stride. Speaking to Emma Barnett on the Today programme on Radio 4, he conceded that a massive Labour majority was on the cards. Have a listen.
So I totally accept that where the polls are at the moment means that tomorrow is likely to see the largest Labour landslide majority, the largest majority that this country has ever seen. Much bigger than 1997, bigger even than the National Government in 1931. What therefore matters now is what kind of opposition do we have? What kind of ability to scrutinise government is there within Parliament? And that is a strong reason to not give the Labour Party that right.
Sorry, you have accepted, as Working Pensions Secretary, that the election is lost?
It's theatre to mobilise people, to engage people, because the lower and lower and lower the turnouts get, the less legitimate these elections are. These people who, the political classes, stand above us and tell us what to do, their legitimacy just becomes lower and lower and lower.
Well, that was Mel Stride. Let's cross and speak live to our chief political correspondent,
That's what I would love
about you, Henry,
to
I just
happen.
find that quite strange.
Get the turnout to such a pathetic level they can't not dare stand in front of us and say that they rule and govern and police us by consent.
It is not typical, to state the obvious.
Check Chungung teeth out of here, man. Why the fuck?
Any politician, really, to essentially concede defeat.
He's not got any charisma. He's a fucking ugly looking motherfucker. How the hell did he get there?
So what is Mel Stride trying to do?
He's got nothing about him. How did he get on the BBC's?
That the Conservatives think that their best hope of averting a vast Labour victory is, perhaps counterintuitively, to talk up a vast
Yeah, it's slimy little sounding English twat, right enough, so maybe that's enough.
But this goes
to get you the gig in the BBC.
A possible supermajority that Mel Stride was alluding to. He said it was almost certain that Labour would win the biggest majority any single party has ever won. It's extraordinary rhetoric, and needless to say, I don't think this is what would have been in the Conservatives' campaign grid as their closing.
Oh, I don't know about you. I wasn't excited about this election until this extraordinary rhetoric. Before I knew it was extraordinary, I didn't know it was extraordinary until Chewing Gum Teeth here told me this is extraordinary. And now I know it's extraordinary, I think it's extraordinary.
In a more low-key and less dramatic way than Mel Stride, it is basically the Conservatives' closing message that, as it stands, Labour are going to win and going to win big. And so Rishi Sunak will be using that supermajority language as he campaigns in the southeast of England this afternoon to try to win back.
How pathetic is it when they all rock up with their sleeves, rolled up laying bricks, stocking shelves? I mean, him turning up at that supermarket probably fucks up those people's day at work more than.
Almost pitching the Conservatives as a strong opposition rather than as a.
Probably just fucks up their day at work, you know? Knocks them all off schedule because they can't actually do the work, and it all has to be fucking.
Also arguing that this election is a foregone conclusion.
Framed.
They want potential Labour voters to decide that they can vote for a different party because the course of government is fixed. So you end up in this funny position where Labour, and Keir Starmer is campaigning in England, Wales and Scotland today, and Labour are basically the only party here saying that a Labour victory isn't inevitable. It's all a bit shaken up. But what you will hear from Labour today...
Is anybody starting to grasp what a sham the current format of democracy that we've got is? It's an absolute fucking joke. They're sitting here talking on the main TV stations, talking about tactical voting.
Henry, I almost want to ask
Nigel Farage gave votes to the Conservatives last election to allow them to get in with their big majority.
Well, look, that's what the Conservatives are putting forward today. As Henry mentioned there, the Labour Party is in their final day. They're seeing themselves moving into England, Wales and Scotland. Let's cross live to Jessica Parker, who is on the Labour campaign bus with the Labour campaign. And I suppose Mel Stride's comments...
John Sweeney's up in Scumbernauld.
Because they're trying to put the point that if you want a Labour government, you have to vote for it, because they are worried that people aren't going to vote for Labour because people may think that it's a done deal.
Good morning. Yes, indeed. And good morning from a slightly drizzly southwest Wales, where Sir Keir Starmer is kicking off his...
Remember, no matter how independent or whatever side the BBC are on, the one side they're definitely on is the whole current system of democracy scam we have in this country. They will not offer you up any other options. They'll under the table browbeat you if you don't vote, if you don't register. You shouldn't have a say because you don't register. Hold on, I'm not playing that stupid game. I don't agree with the rules. Why would I sign up? Why would I give my consent to play a game when I don't agree with the rules, or the players, or the people who write the rules, or even the people who enforce the fucking rules? I don't agree with them. They're all in one fucking wee self-serving club. I want to go over here and play my own game. It's allowed, you know. They don't even offer you that suggestion. Allow you to think along those lines.
There might be a concern that actually they might not bother, or they might vote for somebody else.
I'd vote for the number 10 cat at this point.
To that message today,
well, Pete, I would beat you on that. I would vote for the Coronation Street cat.
Because I think for Labour,
it's well a cooler cat.
In private when you speak to them,
Northerner cat.
To gaining power. But that's certainly not the public impression they want to give at the moment as they head into polling day.
Yes,
in the morning.
Polling day tomorrow. What's the
Amen.
mood on the bus?
Amen. Amen.
Well, the bus, I have to be totally transparent, is a bus full of journalists. So basically, we all get packed onto a bus.
I have to be completely transparent today. I'm on the BBC. What? Yes, this bingo bus you see us on, yeah? It's just basically a bunch of journalists living off the teat of the political parties. Done about 10 accents there.
And members of the press, and then we head to, usually, where Sir Keir Starmer...
Right. If it's members of the press, can Tommy Robinson get on the bus? What about Charlie Veitch? You know, all these independent citizen journalists doing a grand job supporting UKIP and Nigel Farage, independently, of course. All together, but independently together. Just like all the international nationalists. They're all just fucking jet-setting around the world. Doing speeches in other countries because they're patriotic. Alright, Roberto, my man, how you keeping, buddy?
And the Labour campaign is going to be. But when we get there, we do get to talk to activists, and I'm looking actually at a room full of Labour supporters just behind the camera there, and activists, and the mood is upbeat. Look, when you speak to people, as I say, in private, they are definitely upbeat. There are smiles on their faces. They feel something could be close. Yes, there is a nervousness too, I think, because of course polling day has yet to happen when most people actually
I cannot wait to crunch the numbers to see how many house niggers the Labour Party have had to buy off to become a political dictatorship in Britain. It's going to be great. Don't even think they'll need the 12 million that Bobo got, the Conservatives got the last time round. And Nigel Farage's war plan for 2029 is muting. They're aiming to bag 10 million votes. So they're strategically going round the country, particularly Little England and very places with known support for BNP, UKIP, those kind of parties, and trying to pluck all these voters, trying to groom them all, telling them what they want to hear, with the goal of getting 10 million votes. Farage thinks in 2029, 10 million votes will get you in because the vote in base will be diluted down even more because you'll have like maybe the Conservatives will still be about, so they'll still command a certain percentage of the vote. Then you'll have Labour and your national SNPs and the Welsh one and etc. And it'll only take about 10 million. University of Strathclyde.
Unless they show something dramatically different.
Told you we rule the world, man.
Throughout the course of the last 6 weeks, we are anticipating that the Conservatives
and if anybody
to end up
looks like he knows what's happening in an election, it's this old geezer.
On Thursday night. Certainly that's been the message throughout the campaign. Yes, support for Conservatives has fallen, but support for Labour has fallen.
For BN. Oh, me, I've just had brought a smile to my face, man. Pure nostalgia, a bagpuss.
And Labour getting a substantial overall majority, even though perhaps they may not get much more than around 40% of the vote.
Singing, we will fix it when we fix it.
That the opinion polls that come out in the last 24 hours of this campaign.
Yeah, Roberto, it's another
different picture. Maybe
another go in the
Labour's lead narrowing a bit. That's not inconceivable.
political merry-go-round, isn't it?
A 20-point lead is not going to suddenly disappear in the matter of the last 2 or 3 days of an election campaign. The truth
I mean, when I was speaking to Gordon the other day, even he was saying it was like there's 60-year-olds, there's 60-plus-year-olds that are still falling for the SNP trap, or the Nigel Farage reform trap, or the UKIP trap, or even some of your main parties trap. And Gordon was like, how many times? How many fucking times do you have to be here? How many times do you need the same shit in the run-up to a general election? They promise you a gold bar, and that shit just gets worse. Then the new mob get in and blame their shit record on the fucking shit record of the previous mob.
Right, that was
I mean,
Professor
it's
Sir John Curtis, who'll be very busy, I'm sure.
it's tiring after a while, and I just don't know how people endlessly fall for this.
Are in your constituency, you're more than welcome to go to the BBC's website
It's
or
bamboozling.
the news app from wherever you are. But for now, let's take you to some other news, because heavy rain from Hurricane Beryl is lashing parts of Haiti and the Dominican Republic as the storm
Boris
passes
was
south of the
brought
two countries.
out last night.
Winds up to 150
I'm done, man.
miles per hour have already caused
Oh, I
extensive
want
damage
Boris Johnson
across the
back. You can
Caribbean.
listen to him all day, man.
Known to have died. The Category 4 hurricane
Yes,
is
you're
heading towards Jamaica.
talking about
The
a
government
fucking
has urged
disease you get
people
off of
prepare
parrots and all that. Like,
This
fucking hell, man. This guy's amazing.
If the nations which still lie in the path of Hurricane Beryl want to see what awaits them, they should look no further than Union Island. Situated off the coast of St. Vincent and the Grenadines,
All right, Russian
the island's buildings were no
dude.
match for the storm's destructive power. Around 90% have been destroyed or damaged.
Is this just titillation?
Power lines brought down.
Or is it part of just trying to sell you the climate change thing? Or is it just titillation because everybody loves to see a good fucking storm?
Jamaica next on the storm's trajectory, the warnings have prompted people into action, many taking last-minute precautions to protect their homes and livelihoods.
So what to do, Ken Coat? Flatten Ken Coat. Right? I wouldn't like that in Jamaica because enough people don't have a good house. Right now, me afraid for my house that. Me not tell a lie. That's how my time me after
What?
down yesterday. Cause me take this serious.
For its part, the Jamaican government has been trying to stress
You could listen to that all day and fucking still no understand a word.
People will heed the advice of the authorities.
Every area of government, from our disaster preparedness entity to the police force to our fire brigade.
So just because that's an old British colony, I mean, I'm trying to figure out what goes through the editorial desk when they decide what to cover and what not to cover, and they're like, right, well, there's weather. Yeah, weather's news nowadays, isn't it? All we do is need to look for some bad weather in the world. The world's quite a big place. I don't know if you know that. A big flat fucking thing flying through space, apparently.
Its terrifying size.
Yeah, terrifying. Look at that. See, titillation. Love it.
First becoming a Category 4 storm, then a maximum level.
Don't you know
Category
that's
5
fake?
with
Because the Earth is
unprecedented
flat.
Jamaicans now just hope it weakens again on its approach to the island. People in the Caribbean are used to tropical storms, but Beryl is unique. No one has experienced a hurricane this strong this early in the season.
The area of the world is used to these fucking storms. But this one's unique. It came out earlier. By how many days? Weeks? Minutes? Months? Since records began! When did the records begin? 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago. Oh, and let's not forget during that period, the instruments and techniques to actually monitor and get more accurate readings of the weather, temperatures, etc., has went through the fucking roof with satellite technology. Satellites coming out of fucking ears nowadays. And the rest of it. So let's not inject any of that. This one's unique. This place is used to tropical storms because it's in an area where there's tropical fucking storms all the fucking time. But this one's fucking unique because no one's ever seen one this early. So that's the news. Wow, the storm happened earlier than we thought the storms would happen. And they done what storms do. What do storms do? They wreck houses that they hit. Oh dear. Oh dear. That's a shame that it was Oh dearie me.
It doesn't bode well for what is still to come. Will Grant, BBC News, Mexico.
Well, let's bring you back to
I've had
the UK and to
the
the general
heating on
election. It
last.
is, of course, the
Mate,
last
it
full
has
day
been
of campaigning
Baltic the
for
last
all
couple of
major
nights, man.
parties, and
Especially
SNP is well
you're
and truly
down in
continuing
fucking
its
London
campaign
town,
trail.
mate.
Across
Tropical
Scotland
weather
now,
down
speak to
there.
our reporter Katie Hunter, who is with the SNP campaign. And Katie, talk me through what exactly the SNP
that's
is
up at
bringing
Scumbernauld,
forward
I
as
think.
its final message ahead of the big day tomorrow.
Yeah, the SNP leader, John Swinney, is in the building behind me. He arrived here early this morning. This is the first of several campaign stops across the Central Belt today. To be honest, I've lost count of how many there are. I think there are around 5. And John Swinney's message today is that, in his opinion, this election is over. He says the results in England will mean that Labour will win this, that it will be a landslide. But what he's telling voters here in Scotland is that the race here is too close to call. It's on a knife edge, and he hopes that that will motivate
this is an election for the
SNP.
United Great Britain, United Kingdoms.
In 2019, the SNP won
Not Scotland.
seats here in Scotland compared to Labour, who won just 1 seat here in Scotland.
Look at the stadium.
Suggested that the gap between those
These
parties
fucking
really closed.
2-year-old glasses.
Have suggested that Labour
These were
are
my
ahead here in
emergency
Scotland,
ones.
although of course polls are just
I just
polls
need
and
to
come
spray
with all
paint
sorts
them
of,
fucking
health
yellow.
warnings. So the SNP battle bus just out of sight.
Did somebody not go, mate, you do not look a big baldy cunt with a pair of child's fucking sunglasses on. Next you'll be wearing them inside.
Stay where you are just for a second, because I think we can now play a little clip of John Swinney from slightly earlier this morning. Let's have a listen.
The election is well and truly over and done with south of the border, and the issue for Scotland is who's going to protect Scotland's interests in the next Westminster Parliament. And people know they can rely on the SNP to do exactly that. So the SNP MPs who will go to the House of Commons...
You want to know how ridiculous it is? This guy isn't going to go and sit down in the House at Westminster. He's not got a seat in Westminster. He's not welcome in Westminster. He's not a member of the Houses of Commons. The House of Commons. He's a member of the fucking Holyrood. It's a Scottish SNP. He's not an MP. He doesn't have any... The SNP have elected people down in Westminster. That's who should be campaigning. Not this baldy prick who's in charge of a fucking foreign fucking... He's a usurper.
will be campaigning against austerity. Labour are going to carry on the Tory austerity. I want SNP MPs to rail against austerity so we get investment in our public services.
All right,
and I want to make sure SNP MPs are arguing to make sure that Scotland's interests are at all times protected, and people can rely upon that in the next Westminster Parliament. So people should vote SNP to protect Scotland and to make sure that we have
why if you
Labour obviously deny that.
Why don't you stick to your own shitty little parliament, you fucking baldy bastard? Huh? Why do you want SNP, MSPs... Fuck it, try being dyslexic and saying this early in the morning. Why want your own SNPs and MPs at the same time? Greedy bastard. If you fucking don't want anything to do with Britain or the Union or what have you, well, fucking stick to fucking Holyrood and your little Hogwarts fucking shitty city. This is my anti-Edinburgh brand. Fucking go and get your salt and sauce, you prick. I'll stick with my salt and vinegar.
Austerity point. You say this election is too close to call, but you've been around long enough to know that the polls can be wrong. So surely for people who want a change in government at Westminster, the best thing for those people to do is to vote for Labour here in Scotland.
There'll be a change of government because the Tories have well and truly lost this election in England. So the question for voters in Scotland is, do they...
God, are you confused yet? Do you know who does this guy stand for? What does he represent? What member of parliament is he? Who the fuck, what laws does he make? Who does he influence? What the fuck, what are you doing, you baldy bastard? Trying to influence an election that has fuck all to do with you?
But for Scotland, we've got to make sure Scotland's interests are protected, and only SNP does that.
For the SNP, what does success look like come Friday?
I want to win this election with a
Yeah,
majority of...
see, everybody that isn't an SNP member just hates Scotland, you know? Fucking hates Scotland, just takes a big dump on Scotland.
You're saying, that it is on a knife edge. Some of the polls are suggesting that Labour are...
That shithole of a parliament, Holyrood, should get shut down, man. It's just more pigs at the fucking pointless trough for the pigs.
So let's just leave it to the voters to decide. They've got a simple choice. The Tories are out of the game. They've lost the election south of the border. In Scotland, for voters, if they want to stop austerity, stop a Labour government imposing more austerity in Scotland.
You're right, Roberto. He doesn't need a high-vis jacket. He's got a high-vis forehead.
For Scotland, they've got to vote SNP.
But there's a limit to what the SNP MPs who are returned can achieve at Westminster. I come back to the point that if Scottish voters want a change in government, they should vote Labour.
There'll be a change in government on Friday because the Tories have lost the election comprehensively south of the border. Labour doesn't need any Scottish MPs to win this election.
Seriously, see my Saturday night game show, political game show, yes, no, or fucking die. My God, there wouldn't be a we wouldn't even need to round the politicians up to cut their head off with the guillotines, the whole political class. All it does need to run that game show for long enough. Where anybody that wants to be an MP has to come on a Saturday night game show. Could even do it on a daily basis, actually. Get the cull of the political class a lot quicker. Get them inside that box and go, alright, okay, politician, you ready to play yes, no, or you fucking die? And then, you, as I said, you lock them in a soundproof box, in a guillotine, and you ask them questions, and they have three options. They can answer the question yes, they can answer the question no, and if they can't do that, if they start to try and ramble pish, or they say anything that isn't yes or no, boom, the guillotine comes down and chops their head off, and that's one less politician, wordsmith, magician to worry about. It's a bit like the French Revolution, but just with a modern day Saturday night game show twist.
And I'm paraphrasing here, Labour aren't exactly the same as the Conservatives, but they're doing an awfully good impression of them, and that is a theme that he has stuck with, saying that for voters in Scotland, if they choose Labour, then in John Swinney's words, there will be a continuation of austerity. Now, of course, Labour absolutely reject that, and another theme that
I think I've had my full of
especially grass pollen at this time of year. Now, today we've got two weather fronts bringing rain. The first one pushing into the North Sea, the second one moving from the west towards the east. And as you can see from the isobars, it's going to be a breezy day wherever you are.
Man.
So as the rain clears away to the east, there'll be residual cloud and a few showers, some dampness left behind it. The second weather front also moves eastwards. It's later in the day that we see a return to sunshine and showers in western areas, with temperatures ranging from 12 to 18, possibly 19 in the far south. For Wimbledon today, well, play is likely to be interrupted with rain early doors, and then as that clears away, we're looking at a lot of cloud, which could produce some light rain or drizzle into the afternoon at times. Tomorrow is looking dry.
And how long's Wimbledon been going for? About 900 years or something? I think it's a good, maybe, I think it's nearly 200.
Across the northwest of the country. Here too, there'll be gusty winds, move further south.
Or at least 150 or something.
And it's clearer with overnight lows.
But what I was going to say is,
and 13 degrees.
It'd be interesting
to as we head into tomorrow,
compare
we've got this little system scooting across the north of the country, and if you look at the isobars, it tells you it's going to be a windy day wherever you are.
Can you escape this fucking rain at all, man?
Half of the country. So we've got showers coming in courtesy of that weather front, some of them merging across Scotland to give some longer spells of rain. Could be heavy and thundery, come further south, and it's drier and brighter. These are the sustained wind speeds you can see in the circles.
Or not.
Gusts, of course, will be more than that. And our temperatures, 11 to 15 in the north, will feel cool in the wind and the rain. If you get out of the wind and into the sunshine in the south, 20 will feel quite pleasant. Now, Thursday night into Friday...
See, Roberto, man, you got it easy, my man.
Across southern areas, that too is going to introduce some more rain. It clears during the course of Saturday and the isobars open out, so it's not going to be as windy. But certainly on Friday, wet and windy in the south, sunshine and showers in the north, and it remains changeable.
Sunshine and showers. Welcome to Scottish summertime. That's as good as it's going to get. Right, that can't be a full half hour. Surely not. It was. Me.
I used to work the whole day when I was pregnant. I wouldn't take.
Sky News is going to be much of a muchness. Touched on the RTs at the top. But Al Jazeera. We're going to see what they're saying here. So, 47.
Jamaica.
Nearly nailed it. There we go.
Downgraded but still dangerous, Hurricane Beryl kills at least 6 people in the Caribbean as it barrels towards Jamaica.
6 people?
You're watching Al Jazeera live from Doha with me.
How many people are killed in traffic accidents
1 week of relentless
in that
Israeli
country
bombing in
on a daily
Gaza's
basis?
Shujaiya neighborhood in
I
the
don't know,
north
I'm
of the
just
Strip
interested.
will have the latest from the ground. A new video reveals Burkina Faso's military junta forcibly sending its critics to the battlefield. Plus,
I'm Kamal Haider in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, where millions of children will be receiving their polio drops under the watchful eyes of the police.
Why? Why the fuck do you need an armed police for the polio fucking drops, man?
one of the most powerful hurricanes to hit the Caribbean in years is barreling towards Jamaica. Hurricane Beryl reached Category 5 status at one stage.
One of the strongest to hit in years. How many years?
With winds of at least 250
Get
kilometers per hour.
Titillation
It's left a trail
video
of
footage.
destruction in the Caribbean.
Woo,
It's the
there we
first
go.
time a storm this powerful has hit so early in the hurricane season. Beryl has since been downgraded to a Category 4. Meteorologists expect it to hit
So it's
Jamaica
hurricane
late on
season.
Wednesday before moving towards Mexico on Thursday. It's already
Ooh.
made landfall on smaller islands in the southeast Caribbean. At least 6 people have died, including 3 in Grenada and 1 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Aerial footage shows widespread destruction
breaking news,
after the hurricane slammed into
there's
Grenada.
a
It brought
hurricane
torrential rains and caused flash
during
flooding,
the
destroying buildings and
hurricane
homes
season.
and downing power lines. John Holman has more.
Oh, there we go. There's the TikTok music. Nothing says news to me like tickety talk music over some doom and gloom footage.
In the St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
They should use the one that I found on the tickety talks, man. It's called The Spell.
The reports that I have received
Right.
indicate that 90%
As cool as their accents are.
The global consequences, seriously. Ones who have been, and you leave.
We less. So hit the Yucatan Peninsula, and although it's expected to have lost some of its strength by then, the Mexican government's already organising buses to evacuate those that it needs to. But the most sobering part of all this is it's just the first
Is that a
major storm of a
gold-winged
hurricane
angel
season
behind
that
him?
could promise to have many
Another
more.
one.
John Holman, Al Jazeera, Mexico City.
Emergency preparations are underway in Jamaica, where the hurricane is expected to make landfall in
prone to flood or a gutter.
week now.
Hear
The
me
authorities
now.
have documented the destruction in Sujaya. They're also reportedly military.
Oh, getting to some tickety talk music. The news is getting good.
For more than a week now, the Israeli military has bombarded the Shujaiya neighborhood in Gaza City. There are also reports of heavy fighting between Israeli forces and the armed wing of Hamas. A Palestinian journalist has documented the destruction in Shujaiya.
We are here just a few meters away from a Shujaiya neighborhood, as you can see. Relentless bombardment on the neighborhood. The neighborhood is
News is
subject to
disaster
extensive
form.
airstrikes from this early morning.
Oh, they've even got the drone noise in the background.
Enter the neighborhood from multiple directions, forcing civilians to displace, and the situation remains dire. Families still trapped in a Shujaiya neighborhood with unknown destiny. This is as close as we can get.
See when you're
from a Shujaiya
filming
neighborhood.
yourself walking about the street, you do actually need to kind of
Let's now
look
speak
about,
to our
make
Hani
sure you're not
Mahmoud, who's
walking
in
into
Deir
things or
Balah,
getting
Central
knocked
Gaza
down,
for us. Hani, what's the
or
latest you're
not
hearing
doing a
about,
Charlie Veach
the
and
Israeli military operation in
saying
Shujaiya?
stupid things around people to provoke them and stuff like that.
Yes, Father.
Can't
Well, it
just
has been
look at the
confirmed
cam.
that the Israeli military, and what it did, in fact, it conducted a tactical withdrawal from limited parts of Tijaiya neighborhood, the northern part, and as well as the southern western part of the neighborhood. And this has been confirmed with what we just received within the past half an hour. Of people were injured as the tanks that were stationed in different parts, in different areas than they were in the past few days. The
Yankee Doodle
fire shells, a
dandies
group
that
of people
have.
who were trying to get back to their residential blocks and residential homes in these two areas. They're
See what they're saying about the old Biden stuff. Now, it's weird how this works. They do live stuff, but don't renews all the time. But hey ho. This looks like it's live.
The events at 3 o'clock in the morning in the California
It's definitely good news. It's got TikTok music on the background.
She prepared the jury. What happened that night?
53.
Brilliant. Oh, that's genius. You just saved me $40.
American media, man, it's just.
Resilience and hope.
Trust the source. Choose the screen. Streaming app and shit. Just keys the fucking news and stop all your dozen hours after. Oh man, American stuff is hard to.
With the role the Supreme Court is playing in the 2024 election. Is there not more that Israel can do to help the humanitarian crisis? Press.
Democracy is happening now. Welcome to a
Yes!
that could help shape Republican politics.
God, excuse the fucking news, man. What the fuck is this pish? Is that what's going to be on a loop?
God got to his feet. A cop, she came after him with those scissors.
My lordy lord. Is there going to be anything that passes for news? That should have been in and around the top of their hour news. Now, if that's for an American audience and that was meant to be during the night, maybe they just loop it because they've not got any staff in. Right, where's the Fox News doohickey I've got? And that isn't even the live feed either. Oh, this looks interesting.
Regard. We're going to continue to be out there. He's going to be in Pennsylvania as well this weekend, as I just stated.
And one more. We're reporting that Hunter Biden has been in some meetings with senior advisors. Why is the president's son involved?
So a couple of things I saw that reporting as I was coming out. So a couple of things there. Look, the president, as you know, is very close to his family. This is a holiday week, 4th of July. He spent time with his family, as you all know, and reported at Camp David. Hunter came back with him and walked with him into that meeting, that speech prep, and he ended up spending time with his dad and his family that night. That is basically what happened. It is a week where there's going to be more family members who are going to come to the White House. I'm sure you'll see some of them on 4th of
Biden's
July.
in charge. He's not got his family's hands up his fucking geriatric arsehole.
With senior advisors.
What I can say is that he came back with his dad from Camp David. He walked him into the speech prep, and he was in the room. That I can tell you, he was in the room. Anything else coming out of that reporting, I can't speak to, but I can say that, he's close to his family, which is not unusual. They were together at Camp David. They came back.
It's not unusual to be controlled by your son. It's not unusual to be controlled by everyone.
Pelosi said it's a legitimate question to ask if this is an episode or is this is a condition. Which one is it?
Well, what I can tell you is that he had a cold and a bad night. I would not see this as an episode. I would see this as what it was and what we believe it to be, which is it was a bad night. And he did, on top of that, he had a cold. And that is the reality of the situation. That is the reality of what happened that night.
You've certainly seen the reporting out there that this is not just a standalone instance, that other people are saying that this has happened before.
Be some good music. Yeah. Right, so 1 in 3 Democrats think Biden should quit. This is from Reuters. 32% of Democrats think Biden should give up his re-election bid. After his debate with the Trump, Reuters polls found both Trump and Biden still have the support of 40% of registered voters. That suggests Biden has not lost ground since the debate. It also found no prominent election Democrat outlets Biden is in hypothetical matchup for Trump. Ding! There we go, man. Michelle Obama beats both men in the hypothetical scenario. I'm not saying I'm a fucking clairvoyant, but I'll bet on it. Let's see, am I getting any money back for my Michelle Obama? Shit, yeah. Oh, hold on. I need to play my daily shootout. Boom! Back of the net. What do I get? I've won a free £1 bet, baby! Yeah! Right, but enough of that. Gambling, it's bad, that gambling shit. You shouldn't do it, it's not big or clever. Ah, what man, there's Michelle Obama. I got her at 15s. No, but hold on, there's 2. That's her to become, win the become president, right? So that was 15s, but for her to become the Democrat nominee, I only got 5s for it, and they've suspended the bet. And they typically suspend it. Well, I don't know. I'm only going on what I've witnessed through betting on the football and all that jazz. They typically suspend it when the odds are in flux, or something's up in the air. But let's go and check. I've got 5s on her to just become the nominee. Let's see what she's at now. Not unusual. Outright winner. I'm not taking bets on. The odds have got. Fuck, even Hillary, they're taking money, they're taking Hillary Clinton odds, man. Wow, look at that. Kamala Harris is shorter odds than Joe Biden himself. The bookies don't get shit fucking wrong, man. They just don't. They do not. Others on request. Popular vote outright winner. Where is the... they don't seem to be giving you odds on who will be the Democrat nomination anymore. I might need to walk into a bookies and see what odds they'll give us. That's interesting, man. It's interesting that Kamala Harris is shorter odds than Biden, man. That is actually kind of like fucking very telling. Very, 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 very telling. But I'm disappointed Michelle Obama is no fucking shortened. But anyway, let's get Let's get back to me being a clairvoyant. I'm so clairvoyantish, I can't remember where I parked it. Here we go.
One, do you see these as legitimate questions? And also, are you being straight with the American people on this?
I see it as a legitimate question. I do. And I have said it is a fair question to ask. The president sees it as a legitimate question. And I think also the president saying, I am not a young man. I'm not as a smooth talker as I used to be. I don't walk as easily as I used to be. I don't debate as well as I used to. I mean, the president is admitting and saying, and this is not
he's
the first
old
time,
fuck.
right? He's talked about his age. He's joked about his age many times before. And so you heard that directly from, and we are acknowledging what people are seeing. But we do believe this was in this instance, it was a bad
I do believe.
No, and
If
let
he
me
disabled
finish with
it?
your colleague, please. And I know, but shouting out, come on. You know better. Come on.
Just one final question.
You tell him, Scary Spice.
The concern from Democrats on Capitol Hill, calling it just flat out a disaster. Why didn't the president immediately personally reach out to leaders on Capitol Hill, like Leader Jeffries and Leader Schumer?
Look, I can say this. Right after the debate, we were on a 2.5-day swing, 4 states. The president was out there hearing directly from the American people, engaging directly from the American people. Obviously, he respects the Democratic leadership. It is leadership there that has helped him deliver for the American people an unprecedented record on behalf of Americans across the country. So we appreciate them for obviously. But he was out there. He was out there directly with supporters, engaging with them, whether it was a tarmac, whether it was at a rally, whether it was at a watch party or a fundraiser. And I think that's important to note too. And he was hearing from them.
What's important to
But
note
at the
is
same
he just
time,
looks vacant, man.
Those leaders, Democratic leadership, was hearing from members of his team, high level.
Also, as well,
it's not like we were silent.
what happened to Biden the other night? It was like it's no accident. Do you know what I mean? It was like
he's going to have some time to talk to these Democratic leadership on the phone. I mentioned Democratic governors.
It's almost like
on the Hill as well.
If you look what's happening in America, you could argue that Biden's getting brought down from within. I mean, whoever suggested to do that debate on that day with that format when he was in that nick, and they obviously didn't fucking jack him up or whatever before rolling him out, knew what a shit show it was going to be. I mean, it was very easily predictable. I mean, most people wanted to watch that to see Biden stumble and fumble, and that's exactly what happened. In France, you had Macron calling a snap election when all the polls were telling him here the national rally is going to get in. they're going to wipe the board with these. Same here in the UK, Shushak has been brought down from within his own party, whether it be doing speeches in the rain outside number 10, and fucking getting rained on, looking like a drowned rat, rolling rat, or the D-Day stuff, to name a few, or the figures that he's came out with.
We wanted to bring you a little bit of the White House from earlier today. For now, though, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. Yeah.
The people.
Let's have a wee.
Reports of
to a wee bit of Spaceballs. I mean, I think Gaza's going to. I think it's going to go for a year, man. And all. It's got another 3 months in it, easy peasy.
Patterns of practices and parts.
Yep. Repeated patterns. Exactly it, buddy. Nailed it.
Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. The army said it targeted Palestinian fighters in the Noor Shams refugee camp after an Israeli soldier was killed in an explosion there on Monday. It's across the camp.
Funeral in the aid congregation to Al-Karam, including over the occupied West Bank, Eastern
You'll see dead babies and bodies fixed for the day.
As the security situation in the West African country continues to pass. Now, a video have also from Allah in the occupied West Bank. Now,
Kenya.
a video of detained politicians and civil rights activists in military uniform has emerged in Burkina Faso. Rights groups are accusing the military junta of forcibly conscripting
another
critical
corner of
voices
Africa
as
burning.
The security situation in the West
Shot.
African country continues to worsen. Nicholas Hack reports.
West Africa.
Not soldiers, but voices critical of Burkina Faso's military junta. In uniform, 71-year-old Ablase Ouedraogo, the country's former foreign minister, along with a prominent human rights lawyer and a leading civil society activist. All three were arrested last year. Rights groups say this video published by Reuters news agency proves they were forcibly sent to the battlefield, having dared to challenge Burkina Faso's junta.
We can see the country has been in a total war against armed groups in the country, and in this war, everybody that is not totally in the side of the government or the government's perspective on the situation has been at the risk of being victimized.
Armed groups linked to ISIL and Al-Qaeda control 40% of a country slightly larger than the United Kingdom. In 2023, the junta announced a mass mobilization.
Gotta love ISIS and Al-Qaeda, man. They are where you need them to be. It's almost like that famous that you're always where you're meant to be. I think that's the same with ISIS. ISIS, whatever you... The terror group formerly known as ISIS. And the terror group that used to exist, Al-Qaeda, don't call it a comeback. You know, I heard they're getting the band back together. I think remember you had the fucking jihadi Beatles over in Syria. They branded. Oh man, I love this show.
Law calling on anyone fit and above the age of 18 to take up arms and fight for the nation.
The law has been used to target in a discriminatory manner human rights defenders, but also independent voices that have been critical.
Right, that looks like an adult's body with a fucking 12-year-old seed transplanted onto it.
Of the government.
Several international and local news outlets have been taken off air for their reporting on battlefield losses and the growing discontent among commanding officers. Rumors of possible attempted coups have shaken the junta. Meanwhile, millions, mostly children, are being displaced by the ongoing fighting.
Burkina Faso, our humanitarian colleagues say that the country is facing unprecedented humanitarian crisis with 6.3 million people in need of humanitarian support and protection. We, along with our partners, are supporting the government's efforts to meet people's immediate needs.
I might even do this at one point, right? But I'm going to stab in the dark, and this is all I'm stabbing in the dark. That if you were to compare the numbers of like people who are displaced, refugees, camps, prisoners, murdered, etc., we're going to be on par now with World War II, surely. World War II was quite concentrated. The areas of war
Still ahead on Al
weren't
Jazeera, the
so
final day of
spread over
campaigning
the
in Iran. We
globe
take a look
and
at the
continent
promises made by the two presidential
as
contenders.
today's conflicts.
Kenya's government warns protesters against violence as they demand the president steps down.
Now, the big thunderstorms that we've been accustomed to over the last week or two or more are still around.
I'm pretty sure that dude used to work for the BBC.
Slowly towards the eastern side of Europe, still
His
producing
face
big
definitely
downpours. It
rings a
really-
bell.
Now, it's not seeing this low 20 back in Iberia, and if you're lucky, I think parts of
Look
Italy
at
as
Scotland.
well. But here's an example.
Coldest
Seville, 41 degrees, and even here we cool down to 31
Some of the coldest
by the
parts
time
in
we
the
get to
whole of
Saturday,
Europe.
and that's below average.
Love
Still hot in most of North Africa, but look at the
Democratic to hit the Caribbean so early in the story. Trail of Israel, the
Hurricane.
there, the U party and leader of the refugee camp West Bank. The army said it targeted.
Let's see how Al Jazeera
In other
touch
news,
on
it's
the
the
UK
final day
election.
of campaigning in the UK ahead of the upcoming general election. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak from the ruling Conservative Party and Labour leader Keir Starmer have been meeting voters before they cast their ballots on Thursday. Opinion polls suggest the Labour Party is set to end 14 years of Conservative governance. Let's speak to our correspondent Milena Veselinovic, who's live from Birmingham for us. Milena, more bad news today for the Tories on the eve of the election.
More bad news.
Well, the tone of their campaigning in the last few days has been quite defeatist, and this morning one of Rishi Sunak's cabinet ministers, Mel Stride, who's the Work and Pension Secretary, did sort of say on the BBC that it is likely that Labour will win the largest majority any party has ever achieved. But look, this also could be seen as a strategy by the Conservatives to galvanise their supporters to get out and vote on Thursday. Rishi Sunak has been telling his backers to support him in order to avoid a really huge Labour landslide. He was saying what this country needs is a strong opposition in Parliament, but it does mean that his tone has been quite pessimistic. However, as Rishi Sunak himself tweeted yesterday, it's not over until it's over, and last night there was a late addition to campaigning in the form of the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Now he is still very popular for some Conservative supporters, but he's also a very divisive figure. He had to resign over lockdown parties that were held in number 10 Downing Street during COVID, during his time in office. So it's still unclear. They're trying to say to their backers, come out and vote. But it could also be a strategy to have even more people than the polls are suggesting come out and vote for the Conservatives. And then on the other hand, you've got Labour. They are leading in the polls significantly. And today, Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, is going to Scotland, England and Wales to campaign on the last day. But what's worrying his advisors is perhaps that there may be some complacency among Labour supporters, thinking that it's already in hand, so perhaps they may not come out and vote in the numbers that they need for victory. So he's telling people, if you want change from the past 14 years of Conservative vote, you actually have to go out and vote on Thursday.
Milena, what about the smaller parties? What is their strategy?
Well, the smaller parties could still do some damage to both Conservative and the Labour Party. Now, you've got the Liberal Democrats. They were in a coalition with the Conservatives back in 2010. Some of the values among the two parties overlap, and the Liberal Democrats are targeting some seats that have been traditionally Conservative heartlands. And on the other hand, you've got the Reform Party. Now, the Reform Party has hoovered up a lot of the Conservative backers who have been disappointed in the Tories, the Conservatives, not bringing down immigration, which was one of their election promises. And this is despite an undercover investigation that has revealed one of the Reform Party volunteers saying
the spam I've been getting on my channel from the Nigel Farage reform cult.
From that, there's been
They've started washing off all the exact same pish that he used to get with the Tommy Robinson mob. That's why I think it's some sort of a robot or bots. What is it? Not far right, just right. What do you mean by far right? These are, this gets propagated numerous times, man. I must be getting at least 100 comments a day. Well, at the height for pro-reform Nigel Farage fanboys. Just like at times I was getting that amount of traffic from Tommy Robinson fanboys or robots. He's not far right, he's just right. What the fuck, go and buy a t-shirt with that on it, you stupid twat. Fucking simpleton, man. And these are the slogans that mobilise the simpletons out there. You're a Marxist socialist. Repeat, or the lib. What was it? The lib lab con. Liberal Democrats, Labour, Conservative con, Lib Lab con gets repeated again and again and again. And it's the same shit getting regurgitated, propagated left, right and centre, endlessly in the comment section to try and curry favour. It was only in the last year or something that I've actually started to police my comment section as hard as I do, because I'm not swayed with comment sections. I don't really read them because I fucking struggle to read at the best of days, especially pidgin English for people online. So I was never really fully aware of how influential comment sections can be, and then when somebody brought that to my attention, I went, well, hold on, that makes sense. As to I was trying to figure out why I was getting a barrage of like Tommy Robinson supporters coming to clips that are clearly weren't putting Tommy Robinson in a positive light, and similar scenarios, and then the penny did drop, which to smear the comment section, spam the comment section with pish to try and sway people's point of view. Well, look how many. Another thing, and you get in the comment section, this many subscribers but only that amount of views, that tells you everything you need to know, and you're like, what the fuck does it tell you, you spaz? By the sound, by the intellectual impact of your comment. But it's funny and very educational. It's a Scottish guy again.
History has achieved growth and prosperity within a cage. We must first interact and exchange with regional countries, and then other countries worldwide to grow and prosper.
Whoever wins the presidency faces the daunting task of reviving an economy crippled by years of mismanagement and alleged corruption, as well as being excluded from the global financial system. Rasul Serdar, Al Jazeera, Tehran.
Remember, Doha isn't a fan of Iran.
Trial has postponed his sentencing. It follows challenges by Trump's legal team in the wake of the Supreme Court's landmark judgment on Monday. The court ruled former presidents have immunity from prosecution for official acts they committed while in office. Trump is now set to be sentenced on September the 18th instead of next week. He was convicted on 34 counts of falsifying business records with the intent of
When's the election? October or November, isn't it?
Election. To Kenya now, where the Interior Ministry has warned protesters that violence and lawlessness must cease at all costs after protesters fought with police in the capital again. The movement that began with the aim of stopping a tax hike is now demanding the president's resignation. Zain Bazravi reports from Nairobi.
2 weeks into protests against a controversial finance bill, demonstrators are still on the streets of Kenya. Police, accused of disproportionate violence, show no signs of backing down. President William Ruto may have scrapped the bill, but protesters' demands have evolved. They want justice for what they say was the government's heavy-handed response to Kenyans exercising their constitutional rights.
As our president, he should be addressing us in a good manner. He doesn't address us like as if we are trash or we are some people that doesn't exist in this world. At least a little bit of respect, we will stop coming to the streets.
Ruto's recent remarks to the media defending tax hikes and police tactics and downplaying the death toll have reignited public anger.
Our president is very ignorant. He has no idea. He has no clue. He's so out of touch with reality. So this is us cleaning
You notice it's all young guns.
It's very important, it's very mandatory.
With their smartphones on the interwebs. God knows what social media is. The Kenyans.
With a criminal record.
What the Kenyans are into.
Lining up empty coffins on the street.
But
they demand justice for the dead.
I think what I've heard in passing
brutality, they say,
and a few reports
blame
is they say it's the protests are predominantly done by Gen X, whatever that is. What is Gen X? Anyway, for me it means like the people on the younger side of the spectrum who are now more influenced by the internet and mobile phones than the old school forms of coercing the
but public support for the demonstrators may be fading.
We are protecting our shops here.
Shopkeepers fearing looting turned vigilante on Tuesday. Paranoia, a dangerous element to add to the mix in an already volatile situation. Zain Basravi, Al Jazeera, Nairobi.
A court in Cambodia has sentenced 10 environmentalists to between 6 and 8 years in jail. They were part of an activist group that campaigned against destructive infrastructure projects and alleged corruption. 3 of them were also convicted for
68 years.
King. The activists deny the charges. Police in India have launched investigations after at least 121 people were killed in a stampede on Tuesday. Families are mourning their relatives who died at a religious ceremony in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh.
Nothing says religion and God is looking down and looking after us than a stampede that kills human beings in the name of fucking magic shit in the sky.
Under the age of 5 against the highly infectious disease. At least 6 cases have been recorded this year, but security threats, harassment of medical teams and cross-border movement are hampering efforts to eradicate the virus. Al Jazeera's Kamal Haider reports from the Swabi district.
Kashmir?
It's early morning in the Swabi district in northwestern Pakistan.
I love this guy.
Health workers accompanied by armed police officers are going door to door as part of a polio immunization campaign. They administer the oral vaccine to children younger than 5 and mark each house to keep track of the numbers. It may look like a simple process.
Did he hear Big Fox watch the girl, Tara David?
Some health workers and polio survivors say they receive only $5 a day and no transport or health benefits.
This is the only job we have to earn a living for our families. Administering the drops is not easy. We are under constant threat of being attacked, even killed. But we don't have any other option. Either we're killed in the field or we face economic hardship.
The police officers keep a close eye on the team.
Getting threatened to get killed.
Assault rifles at the ready to foil any attack. The government says at least 102 polio field workers, officials and security personnel have been killed, 6 of them this year.
Polio duty, the police, they told the...
Providing security to polio vaccination workers is the most difficult duty we have. It's not only them who are under constant threat. We are equally vulnerable.
The work is carried out predominantly by women in a conservative country where men are not allowed inside houses. Polio immunization is risky business in Pakistan, as dozens of polio workers and policemen have been targeted over the years. But that has not dampened their spirits in a bid to come to grips with a virus that is still endemic in Afghanistan and Pakistan.
Okay, it's happening, right, but why?
The Prime Minister recently chaired a task force meeting along with philanthropist Bill Gates, whose foundation is funding the campaign. He says he's committed to rooting out the virus.
We were almost close to wiping out polio from the face of Pakistan. But then suddenly, unfortunately, things took a negative turn and it has again come back in certain parts of Pakistan. But that does not mean that we have failed in our efforts.
However, scientists have cautioned the large population, cross-border movement and vaccine hesitancy are challenges to completely eradicating polio. Kamal Haider, Al Jazeera, Swabi District, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
So are they just attacking them because women are doing the shit, or what?
And that is the news for now on Al Jazeera. I'll be back with more
where's
of the top stories.
Where's the meat of the pudding of that story? Right, okay, right, they're getting attacked. It's really dodgy business. It's predominantly women in a conservative country. The women can't go into the hussies, but why are people attacking them?
To report on the people often ignored, but who must be heard.
How many other channels can you say will take the time and put extensive
Oh, and
thought
Bill
into
Gates was there
reporting
because
from
like,
underreported
we all know
areas?
Bill Gates is
Of
a...
course, we
Alex
cover
Jones
major
told
global
me Bill
events,
Gates
but
is a
our
demon.
passion lies in making sure that you're hearing the stories from people in places like Palestine, Libya, Yemen,
Here's another
the
example of how
Sahel region,
powerful
and so many
the
others.
internets
We go to
can
them.
be.
We make the effort.
Alex Jones convinced people that some people they weren't just arseholes or criminals or horrible human beings or anything. They were literal demons. I'm pretty sure they are the exact words that came out his mouth on more than one occasion. It's a literal demon. If you look at her, you could Hillary Clinton and all that. This is just going to be the reigning election. I am going to argue. Press TV. Plus, there's going to be 10 ton of dead babies and bodies, man, on this one. Right, let's see. This won't work. I know it won't. It'll confuse me, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to try and get the top of our news. Should be 28 minutes ago. I think that would do it.
Most of them women and children.
Maybe it's worked.
Oh. Everybody watching Press TV's World
There
is
we
coming
go.
live from our headquarters here in the Iranian capital, Tehran. Our top story, we start this bulletin with a war in Gaza where Israel's non-stop bombing and shelling campaign claimed more civilian lives. In the latest attacks, over a dozen Palestinians have been killed after the regime's warplanes struck areas in eastern and central Gaza. The victims include 9 members of a single family who were targeted in a designated safe zone in Khan Younis in southern Gaza. Another strike hit the Al-Maghazi refugee camp, located in the central city of Deir al-Balah, killing 5 people. The Palestinian death toll since the beginning of Israel's genocidal war on
What's
Gaza
the scores in the
October
doors?
now reaches almost 38,000, most of them women and children. More than
The
87,000
last scores in the doors that I heard was about
injured, while
32 or something,
thousands more
so
remain unaccounted for.
around 21,000 people were missing, or was that just the kids?
The Palestinian Prisoners Society has released a shocking report on the dire conditions Palestinian detainees face in Israeli jails. The society said Palestinians abducted from the Gaza Strip have undergone amputations without anesthesia. It added that Palestinian inmates' limbs were mostly
cut it off
due to injuries caused by shackles and cuffs. They were also subjected to beatings with batons and attacks by police dogs. On Monday, Israel released some 55 Gaza prisoners to free up space in its already overcrowded jails. They confirmed that Palestinian abductees undergo severe physical and mental torture in the regime's jails, including starvation and sexual abuse. The Palestinian resistance movement Hamas has condemned Israel's violations of prisoners' rights, saying they are in line with the regime's genocidal policies implemented with full support from the U.S.
The audio was a wee bit better today,
John
but
Bosnich says, according to international law, Israel's maltreatment of the
still
Palestinian
need to put a
abductees
few
amounts to war crimes.
schoolboy fucking filters on, man.
We've seen Israel reject the authority of the International Criminal Court, of course, because they would be charged not only with violations of the treatment
This is
of
a
prisoners, but with
podcaster for
genocide. So basically
Canada.
what we're dealing with the current Israeli regime is an outlaw regime. It does not accept the International Court. It does not accept, and if you chambers that they have Israeli prisoners for the UN staff.
Central Gaza to bring us up to speed on the continued Israeli genocidal massacre that's taking place all across the Gaza Strip. Moti?
Yes, actually, the Israeli occupation forces continue to commit more vicious and heinous crimes against the Palestinian people in all areas of Gaza Strip. The last one took place in Al-Maghazi refugee camp after the Israeli fighter drones attacked and targeted a group of the Palestinian people there. At least 5 Palestinian civilians were reportedly killed as a consequence of that attack. In the meantime, Al-Nusayrat refugee camp was under heavy attacks of the Israeli occupation forces. That is more massive area. It is more against
Different day, same shit, more dead. Nobody's talking about it because there's elections happening.
The Palestinian Health Ministry says 4 people were killed just before midnight in an Israeli drone strike on the Nur Shams refugee.
That's the West Bank deaths.
Injustice is green, and we are all the young resistant fighters.
In rubble. I cleared the rubble.
This is the goal
Are
of
they
the occupation,
putting the
to make us
deaths
leave the camp
in the West
and
Bank
forget about
into the
right of return? But our message
stuff that's happening in the Gaza Strip?
2 days of talks on a plan to build 6,000 new settler units will be held on Wednesday and Thursday. The group says that Israel has ramped up the expansion of settlements since the beginning of its war on Gaza. It says the move is aimed at dismantling any possibility for a political solution between Israelis and Palestinians. The Palestinian Authority, the EU, and
build
the
shit on their
Organization of
land,
Cooperation
call
have
it yours,
denounced
and
the
then,
plan
well,
as
you're really bad if you want to get
Palestinian
rid of
rights.
that house in the
Several
future.
countries, including Germany, Egypt, and Qatar, have also condemned Israel's expansionist agenda. All Israeli settlements on the occupied Palestinian land are illegal under international law.
From the
and
river to the sea,
Convention.
Palestine will be demolished, you see. Oh, he's my favourite warmongering guy.
Anti-Israel military Iraqi resistance in support of the Palestinians in Gaza. Yemeni army
He's up there with the North Koreans, man.
said the armed forces used winged missiles to hit a vital target in the port city of Haifa.
Kamikaze drones,
Palestine.
winged
The Yemeni
missiles.
military official said the operation successfully achieved its objectives. He added that the army will continue such operations until the Israeli regime ends its genocide against Palestinians.
Oh, up at half a port. I'm pretty sure that's in Israel.
The Yemeni armed forces have launched another round of naval attacks against ships belonging to the United States, the United Kingdom, and
Ships,
Israel.
right?
The first strike involved the Yemeni missile force, which launched multiple winged missiles at the Israeli vessel MSC Unific in the Arabian Sea. Both the missile and naval forces also jointly launched ballistic and winged missiles at American oil ship Delonix in the Red Sea. This marks the second attack on the Delonix within a week, reflecting a pattern of escalating assaults against American maritime assets in the region.
The first operation was carried out by the Missile Force with a number of winged missiles targeting the
Definitely my
Israeli ship
favourite, man.
MSC Unific in the Arabian Sea. The hit was accurate and direct, thank God. The second operation was performed by both missile and naval forces using a number of ballistic and winged missiles targeting the American Delonix oil ship in the Red Sea for the second time this week.
The third strike targeted the British landing ship Anvil Point in the Indian Ocean using winged missiles, which were also used in targeting the ship Lucky Sailor in the Mediterranean Sea. The vessel was attacked after its owner company violated the Yemeni ban on entering ports in the occupied Palestine.
Amid the continuing Zionist and American aggression against our brothers in Gaza, who are besieged and killed by the Israeli genocidal war before the eyes of the whole world, the Yemeni army is escalating its naval operations. There are many indications of the Yemeni army's capability to detect ships, despite their attempts to hide, but they fail in doing so wherever they are. The Yemeni attacks will not stop unless the Israeli aggression in Gaza stops.
Amid dire tensions, the U.S. State Department announced that U.S. Special Envoy to Yemen Tim Linderking is visiting Saudi Arabia and Oman this week to seek an immediate cessation of Yemeni attacks in the Red Sea and adjacent waterways. However, the Yemeni leadership insists that the primary condition for halting these operations is an end to the Israeli war on Gaza.
The Yemeni stance underscores the link between the Israeli war on Gaza and the international concerns about maritime security. However, the international community continues to turn a blind eye to the suffering of innocent civilians in the Gaza Strip, exercising double standards in its clearest form. Reporting for Press TV, Abdul Latif Al-Washali, Sana'a.
The death toll in the stampede incident that occurred during a Hindu religious ceremony in India's Uttar Pradesh state has risen to 121. Officials say the tragedy, which unfolded on Tuesday, also left 28 people injured in the city of Hathras. Police say over 250,000 people had gathered there while the permission was only given for 80,000 devotees. The overcrowding and a heat wave have been blamed for the stampede, which is not uncommon in India, and FIR has been registered against the organizers of the event. The police have also launched a search operation for the preacher of the Satsang sect, where the stampede occurred. Most of the victims were women and children.
God, you got to love religion, eh? That must be the wrong religion. Because we all know there's only one God, one religion, one person's right. I think we should get all the gods everybody thinks are the real ones and put them in the UFC just to see who the last one standing.
To sway voters. The two contenders, Saeed Jalili and Masoud Pezeshkian,
Fuck, I thought it was over.
in the second
Or
round
they just narrowed it down to
debates
two.
on Tuesday, in which they mainly discussed economic issues. During the debate, the two sides argued about the impact of sanctions on the country's economy and the necessity of negotiations with the West to lift the sanctions. Let's watch some parts of the debate.
Look at the chat. God bless Iran in Jesus Christ's name. Honestly, social media is a fucking sewer pit, man. It's the worst. It brings out the worst of the people, man.
Things, how we could get out of this, given this proposal, how we could work it out. Naturally, with the Security Commission in Parliament, we'll have discussions with them, the Foreign Policy Commission, also the Supreme National Security Council. We need to reach a consensus so that we could see if the same process could take us to our goals or not. So you believe that the Americans did not implement will go back to our commitment? No, I don't mean that, not at all. I mean, when the commitments are not acted, we would do the same thing. No, that's not true. Yesterday I told
Listen, you more Iranian stuff than
always, if you have not been able
the British.
Now, nothing outside pressure. You said that you were sitting and praying only. We had so much.
Oh, look, they've got diagrams and everything, man.
Press TV's correspondent.
You should have done a
hosted a
PowerPoint.
solemn commemoration ceremony on Tuesday to pay tribute to the late Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi, Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian,
His airplane,
and their
his helicopter
companions.
just fell out the sky.
The helicopter carrying President Raisi and his entourage crashed while on its way to Tabriz, the capital of Iran's East Azerbaijan province, in May. The event, held under the title The Role of Martyrs in Strengthening the Relations, saw a significant turnout, including representatives from foreign missions, high-profile dignitaries, and political figures. In his opening address, the ambassador of Iran to Pakistan, Raza Amiri Muqaddam, said that President Raisi strengthened the foreign policy of Iran by raising the voice for the oppressed people of Palestine and exposing the true face of the Israeli regime and its supporters.
Mr. Raisi and Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian were not only martyrs but also pillars of the diplomatic and spiritual bonds that unite Iran and Pakistan. Their legacies continue to inspire.
Enduring impact of President Raisi's efforts in promoting peace and stability. The 20
highlights the shared vision.
So, Press TV, Iranian elections and the death toll in Gaza, what was it, 38 or something, reportedly? Known deaths, and I think it's over 20,000 missing. Let's see if we can get back to Fox News. Or is that them just went to another fucking hard? There it is.
Austin, that's a stated goal. You know, he said that very clearly in debate. You know, he was saying, I'll have it done the first
American
day I'm elected, or I'll have it done, you know, before I take office. And depends on which time you caught him in the debate, he was saying things like that. Now, the Russian ambassador to the UN turned around today, which I thought was kind of interesting. He says, no, it's not going to be done on the first day he's elected. And I thought it was rather interesting to hear the Russians pushing back on something like that, but they were very unambiguous. They said, no, this conflict's very complicated. Now, when he was in office, he had expressed a lot of frustration. And a lot of it is frustration, surprisingly, Biden expressed it as well, that, and it's been expressed even before Trump came to office, that a lot of our NATO European allies, you know, who are literally a lot closer to the threat, if you will, a lot closer to Russia than we are not spending enough on their own self-defense. This has been something that's been brought up time and time again, that a number of these countries were spending well below what's been set as a 2% threshold, that's 2% of GDP, gross domestic product, should be spent on defense. And a number of these countries were well below that. Most of the countries were. That has changed a lot since he's first articulated that. That has changed a lot. Most of the countries are spending 2% or greater.
So there's
some
political
countries
talking
are
about
spending
Trump and
much more than 2%. If you go to Poland, for example, they're very aggressive. Germany has certainly since Russia
they're
invaded
trying to get
Ukraine come out of it, some
2.5%.
would say defense lethargy, if you will, and they're spending a lot more on defense matters. France has also moved forward, and of course, you see the Benelux countries, Belgium, Luxembourg,
So
and Holland.
let me get this right.
All spending a lot more on defense.
The countries,
So
the
you're
companies
seeing that, and of course, you
that
just
sell
saw,
the
Finland and
instruments of
Sweden
war
join NATO. So there's been a lot
have
of
a
progress.
dog in the fight.
There still are
They
some
have
countries that are well
wars
below that 2%
so they
threshold.
can push for
in
more
the
money
Iberian Peninsula,
off
which is
governments
probably,
worldwide. A
interestingly,
guaranteed
from the
percentage
Russian
of this
border.
country's
You tend to find that
GDP.
there's less
So it's
investment in
almost
defense.
like the
That's been a big
military-industrial
issue. So when
complex
Trump
could
comes into
are
office,
arguably
I
holding
would imagine
the
he's
countries of
gonna
the
raise
world
that up again, and he may actually raise
to
the ante on
ransom
that a little bit,
for
to
2.5%
talk about
of their
what they should be
economies.
spending and how they need to catch up.
Remember, if you get it
There is
2.5%,
also,
it doesn't
discussion in
matter.
the Political article, but also other articles
You
talking
could have
about
the larger,
there
if you
is,
get
planning
2.5% of
amongst these
spending
countries,
from the
particularly right
Yanks,
after the debate,
biggest economy in the world at the moment,
of
biggest
what they're going to
GDP,
do from a
I
NATO
do believe.
perspective if
Fucking
Trump's
fortune.
elected and he comes in. And they kind of have 4 years to figure
It's
out where he
almost
stands
like
on
a
NATO,
protection
so that's not a
racket,
mystery.
you know?
And they're trying to figure out
And
what
they
they're
don't
going to do.
ask for a
Poland
certain
and Germany,
amount
today just
each
announced that they're going
week,
to
month for
dramatically
protection.
increase
They
defense
ask for a
cooperation,
percentage
defense
of your
production across
profits.
the
Not even a
board,
percentage of your profits,
and
actually.
work
A percentage of the
cooperatively
amount of
together,
money
which
you
is
take in.
fascinating when you look at the history of Germany and Poland, particularly World War II. It's absolutely amazing to see these two countries working so closely together, and they realize, look, they're right there on the front line. They have to do what they have to do to stop Russia from ever thinking of crossing into NATO territory. So it'll be a different landscape.
Russia,
I should mention though, he can't just unilaterally say
they're
"Yeah,
up
I'm out of
into
NATO."
I think it was 10
That's
to
not
15% of
the
GDP
president could do.
they're currently
That is
spending
a treaty
on their
that was
military.
ratified by the Senate. It's been around for a
I
very
say
long
for
time.
obvious reasons,
And
because they're
as many have said, it's
at
very
war in Ukraine, open war in
almost
Ukraine.
impossible to imagine a scenario where the Senate would agree to
ACS
pull out of
3,
NATO. It's just not something that's going
zero.
to happen. But he could do a lot of things from an
It's on
executive
the
standpoint
walls.
that would diminish
I never
our role
clocked that
in
one
NATO
myself.
and pull back in a lot of ways. And I think that's what the NATO partners are getting ready for. Is he's going to try and probably push more European leadership, more European, hey, take on your own level of responsibility for where you are. That's something everyone's anticipating with Trump.
Yeah, let's keep it with NATO. They say, and
Now, what does that mean in real terms? It means that Trump is going to start pushing other countries to spend more of their money on weapons of war. So, let me get this straight. So, Donald Trump is going to put more money in the Western military industrial, more money in the pockets of the Western military industrial complex. I can't imagine why he's got all this support. Can't imagine why the military industrial complex and its tentacles within the media, etc., and especially the online shit. I can't imagine why they're pushing for this shit. I mean, it makes it makes perfect sense. More money in their back pocket. That's why they're pushing for these political entities. It's not rocket science.
And when I say they, NATO will station a senior civilian official in Kyiv among a rift of new measures designed to shore up long-term support for Ukraine that are expected to be announced at a summit in Washington next week. That's according to the Wall Street Journal.
And according to RT, there might be another coup happening inside Ukraine. So it really just depends who you listen to. The same shit, different versions, different flavour of jobby.
The steps seek to strengthen Ukraine's prospects to eventually join the alliance without offering it membership. I also read they're aiming to, quote, Trump-proof Ukraine aid, Hal. What exactly does Trump-proofing it mean?
Oh, come on to fuck Einstein. You're sitting there in Fox News and you're asking somebody, what does Trump proofing it means? It means they're trying to ring fence the aid into the future so Trump can't stop it. And are you that stupid, or do you just need to... Well, that is Fox News.
They're going to put a lot of measures in which make it very, very difficult for the president to pull back aid. They're going to get as much stuff approved to put in front. They're also doing a number of things, which is NATO monies that the U.S. doesn't have unilateral control on, and other aid in terms of transferring of materials. All of these things are to make it very difficult. If President Trump was to come in and say, okay, I want to stop all this aid going to Ukraine, what they're doing is they're making it very difficult for the President of the United States to do something like that. And it's a variety of things. Some are very overt. Some are, a little bit more clever in terms of how they plan to put that in there, put it together. But that's what they're actually planning on doing. And part of it is just the element of the unknown. They're not exactly sure what he's going to do. Although I can tell you that they are listening.
That's the hungry guy.
To everything said by his national security advisor and everybody on the national security side that's advising the candidate, if you will, on these matters dealing with NATO. They're trying to figure out which way will they go, and they're trying to do those things that will ensure that aid keeps going in, even if President Trump is not as big a fan of that aid, say, as President Biden is.
So another thing, Hal, I wanted to move on to an interesting article that you and I had talked about offline. So basically, Ukrainian security officials on Monday said that there was a plot to overthrow the federal government in Kyiv. It had been thwarted as Russia ramps up attacks on the capital city. That's according to the security.
Right, I just want to touch on two Mandela effects. Right, I'm pretty sure when I was growing up, the country, Turkey, or whatever they're calling it nowadays, was called Turkey. And I'm pretty sure when I'm in a restaurant and I order a chicken Kiev, is it now called a chicken Kiev? It's two Mandela effects that I'm aware of.
Service of Ukraine, and they say that 4 Ukrainian civilians were detained over the weekend on suspicion of planning an alleged coup by seizing parliament. So what more do we know about this? And is this something that we've seen? Have we seen something of this nature? Is this new to this chapter of this war?
Well, what's interesting is when you read what they were doing, it sounds almost a little bit like January 6th, strangely enough. Their plan, or at least what is said of January 6th, but their plan is
it's 2014 when Maidan and stuff was
happening on June 30th that would turn into a riot, that they would then go and seize parliament, and then they were thinking that they would take over the levers of power, they would take over parliament, they would take over the military. When I read it, it was really interesting, but kind of like January 6th, it missed one element, which is just taking over the building doesn't give you all the levers of power, all right? And that was one of the things I saw. Even if they had done what they said they would have done, I think it could have been very disruptive and somewhat destructive. I don't know that they would have taken over the government. It was not the most sophisticated coup plot I'd ever heard. But it was a plot. And of course, this falls after May, when the SBU, their security service, had disrupted a plot, stopped a plot, thwarted a plot, if you will, to assassinate Zelensky and a number of key leaders. Now, that plot was a lot more sophisticated, certainly a heck of a lot more dangerous. That they were able to intercept and stop there. This one, I don't know that they would have. It sounds like they would have caused a lot of disruption, but clearly their intent was to try and overthrow the government somehow. Although it really, when I was looking at it, there may be something that's not out there, but it looked a little bit ham-handed to me in terms of how the execution might have rolled out.
I want to talk about Belarus. So Belarus said last week that Ukraine is bolstering its forces along their mutual border. The Kremlin, however, said on Monday that the report was a cause of concern. But just yesterday, Ukraine dismissed those claims, describing the reports as an information operation from Belarus with Russia's support. How do we suss this out, Hal? I see reports indicating a number of things. What does it seem is happening here?
Well, there's one thing is happening. There's a lot of engineer work going on the border with Belarus, and the assumption on the Ukrainian side is, there is that agreement. It's more than mutual defense. I mean, it's complete cooperation. Some would say Belarus has given up its sovereignty to Russia based on how their agreement works out. But there is the belief that Russia is looking at that border between Belarus and Ukraine, and they see it as a point of vulnerability. They see it as kind of like what they did in Kharkiv, where they came into Kharkiv well off the known lines. They suddenly dropped in from the border. Well, the fear has been out there for some time that they were going to try and do that with Belarus as well. Drop in and hit that western part of the country, maybe try to get to Lviv, or maybe try to take
What happened to the riots in Georgia?
Probably wouldn't happen, but to be on the safe side, the Ukrainians have been building up the defense.
Don't know if you remember that was in the news. That seems to have dropped off the news cycle. I'm pretty sure it just didn't go away. Wow, I managed to even spell it right and everything. That'll all be about their football team. Here we go. So, this is another struggle between the West and Russia happening. Kind of getting dressed up as sort of internal politics when it's completely geopolitics at action here. And to stir up the locals, they're dressing it up in anti-Russia, anti-EU, yada 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 rhetoric, man. It's see-through, isn't it? It is actually see-through. So let's just have a young demonstrators fight on ahead of October elections. So there's elections in Georgia as well. To exhaust the administration behind the controversial measure. Beads of sweat gather. This is for Al Jazeera. So that hasn't went away, but it's dropped off the news cycle, interestingly enough.
Member of Parliament.
Where was this Fox News stuff? A lot of
it's quite interesting
work, a lot of earthwork, a lot of trenches,
Rupert
a lot of
Murdoch American
obstacles.
slant.
All those things would be needed to slow them down while they'd have to move forces into position to repel such an attack. Now, what Russia was putting out was, and via Belarus was putting out that they were actually massing forces on the Belarus border, trying to make it look like that somehow Ukraine was going to invade Belarus. Very unlikely situation. I can see there's a lot of reasons why Ukraine would absolutely never want to invade Belarus, just because it would take away forces they need for other parts of their front, and not that the Belarus military is any great obstacle, so to speak. They're not the most capable military force by any means in that area, but it's just something added that they wouldn't want to take on. Now, if someone was planning some grand Napoleonic scheme of maneuver where you would swing through Belarus and then come in behind the Russian forces, it all sounds very interesting unless you look at the distances involved. The sheer logistics in moving forces that distance kind of makes that sort of grand scheme maneuver that the Russians were kind of implicitly alluding to seem rather improbable at best. I would say bordering on impossible, logistically speaking, for the Ukrainians. So I don't see that happening. But I think the Ukrainians came back and said, look, this is an information operation. But they did caveat by saying, yes, we are doing a lot of engineer work on that border. We are building up our defenses. So is there a lot of work? Is there a lot of military activity on the border? From what I can tell, yes. Is it military activity for offensive or defensive operations? Everything I've seen is to buttress up the the defensive operations, nothing indicating it's for offensive, but certainly, it rolls into, the information space that Russia wants to create the narrative that the Ukrainians, are planning some neo-Nazi assault or something into Belarus, some of that overblown rhetoric that they love to use. And of course, by using rhetoric like that, they allude to World War II, and they tug on the kind of vague memoryscape, if you will, of people who live there, saying, "Oh, we have to repel the Nazis" or something, or at least that's what they think. I think most Belarusians kind of take this and say, "Yeah, okay, whatever." They don't really worry about it, but anyway, it's out there.
Belarus.
Because you mentioned the military might,
They're
if
part
you
of
will,
the Rus Viking
Belarus's
as well.
army. Does the fact that they have such a close tie to Russia make them a little bit stronger?
It certainly to
Belarus
Lukashenko,
used to be part of
that's
Russia.
what keeps him in office. If it wasn't for Russia, I don't think Lukashenko would be there anymore. In fact, I think there's a very good chance that we'd be looking, if not for Putin, if not for Russian intervention, there's a very good chance that Belarus today might look a lot like Ukraine. And I mean that politically, not in terms of where their country has been invaded. Although I will tell you that if that happened, I wouldn't rule out that Russia would have tried to invade Belarus as well. All right. It basically, that's what props him up. That's what keeps him in power.
Russia Doberman, did Belarus not be part?
Russia has said they've transferred nuclear weapons to Belarus. And I did take out a map, and I looked at where the Russian nuclear weapons are and where the border is. And I was like, could there be some, very clever grand scheme to go in there and seize the nuclear weapons? And again, it seemed pretty improbable, but that was just one of those things I kind of looked at, kind of a hypothetical. Could they? And I looked at it, like, it'd be pretty difficult to pull off. So I don't think they are.
Yeah.
But that is one of the things that they say that they have. I take that with a grain of salt. I don't think that the Russians gave launch codes or anything like that, or any ability to employ those weapons to Lukashenko. They might have some weapons there, but I have a feeling that if they are there, they may not be complete weapon systems, and whatever is there would be under the direct control of the Russians.
One more thing I want to ask you about this war before we take a break. So you and I have discussed F-16s at length for months now. The Netherlands will supply Ukraine with the first of 24 promised F-16 fighter jets.
There's reports yesterday that Russia was hitting
Monday. Their defense minister
bases
says
ahead
that
of
the
the
necessary
F-16s.
permits to deliver these jets to Ukraine have been granted. So how 24 jets total, but not all of them will be delivered at once, correct? How consequential would these planes be for Ukraine's fight, even in segments of, if you will, shipments of jets?
Austin, that's a good question, because some of it is, what do they bring in terms of the force? What can they do? The other part is, what do they mean in terms of the psychological impact? Frankly, Russian pilots, Russian planes being shot down by F-16s would probably have a big psychological impact on the Russian Air Force. We saw at the beginning of the war, the Russian Air Force really held back for a very long period of time. In fact, Russian air power was pretty much non-existent for much of the first part of the war, simply because the Russian Air Force didn't see their aircraft as being survivable. Now they have these glide bombs. They're able to release those much further out so that they can actually employ the aircraft to do some damage on the ground. So you see more air power being used. However, with the F-16s, there are anti-air systems associated with them that may neutralize much of the advantage the Russians have in that regard. And even if they only took out a few, that would definitely put
it's like a game of Command and Conquer
in the operational planners of the Russian Air Force from there on. So even if only, and it's possible this month we could end up seeing, say, a squadron, a dozen or more F-16s actually in Ukraine being operational. But even that small amount, if employed judiciously, they're going to be
is it
very
beyond
careful.
the pale
They're going to be very
of
careful from a force protection
possibility
standpoint.
that
employment ways that they're not going to
the
lose them,
military-industrial
I could see them
complex
starting to make a difference.
certainly isn't
More on the
wanting to
psychological side
put an end to
of
this
what it
and all
what it
this
deters the Russian Air Force
saber
from
rattling,
doing,
for lack of a
than the
better
actual
saying,
damage it causes to the
because they
Russian
make
Air
a
Force,
fortune
if
off
that
it.
makes sense.
So
Yeah.
they've got
All
a
right,
dog
Hal,
in
we
the fight
appreciate your
not to
analysis on the
stop it.
Russia-Ukraine war. We are
Is
going
it
to take a
beyond
break. If you will, please
the
stand
realms
by.
of
On the other side of
possibility
that, we're
that
going to talk
there
Israel,
might be
Hamas.
provoking
We'll
it?
be right back in 2 minutes.
There might be Charlie Veach in it, being an agent provocateur, war tourist. I think I can space balls it. Need to check in with this channel a wee bit more. It's quite interesting stuff they put up, but just bear in mind it is snippets from Fox News, which is Rupert Murdoch, Balls on Table.
We wanted to also bring it now from Fox. I'm Austin Westfall. Standing by still is National Security Analyst and retired Marine Intelligence Officer Hal Kemper. As always, Hal, thanks for sticking around. We wanted to also get to an important story out of the Israel-Hamas war. You see on your screen, and I'll read a little bit of reporting from the Associated Press about this. The Israeli army has ordered a mass evacuation of Palestinians from much of Khan Yunis earlier this week. It's a sign that troops are likely to launch a new ground assault into the Gaza Strip's second largest city. So, Hal, you and I have spent so much time watching the IDF
get involved in the poll if he's watching the show. Will Biden be forced to step down before the election? 12 votes, 58% are saying yes, 42% are saying not sure, and nobody's saying nah. Well, it's hard to deny, man. There's Democrats publicly out there calling for him to step down. Michelle Obama.
Targeting Yahya Sinwar, perhaps.
Get her in.
Austin, it could be definitely that last part, and that's one of my thoughts on this. When they went in there, the way they went in there, the way they ordered the sudden evacuation.
How did the audio go down?
They do have a reason for going in there quickly, because they took a rocket attack from that area that went into to attack the IDF and to attack Israel. So they do have a very clear reason why they want to go in there and deal with those rockets. But the other one, of course, is where is Yahya Sinwar? Where is his command group?
That's on their side, the audio drop.
Through Khan Yunis, and of course, the last location of Yahya Sinwar was in the tunnel complex underneath Khan Yunis. But the thought was that he had moved further south at some point, was down the Rafah area. Well, now the Israelis are pretty much through most of Rafah. They have uncovered a lot of that terrain. They have more sophisticated means by which they're going through and clearing the tunnel complex, although they've got a lot of work to do on those tunnels.
See,
it could be that he didn't move.
I think a lot of people are aware of what a war of attrition means. You know, you try and starve them out, you try and
so he may be stuck down there, and they may have
cut off food and water, you know, etc., etc.
This is where he is.
Just grind them down gradually, you know, over time. Time is your friend kind of idea. Now, I'm beginning to think that kind of applies online as well when it comes to the information war. Because when the Gaza shit first kicked off, it was everywhere. People were paying attention. There was protests. Everything was getting covered. It was definitely top of the news cycle now. It's just dropped off the news cycle for a lot of news agencies if they touch on it at all, especially over here in the UK. We've got election fever. I'd imagine maybe similar things happened in France. With the elections they had a good turnout, 60%. Fuck me, it's a good turnout in democracy scams. And gradually they just grind you down, whereas you just switch on and it's like white noise. What's happening in Gaza? It's just that they just pull out a number. They've bombed here this time, they've bombed there this time. You listen to the other side, they're just showing you all the dead bodies and babies and torture victims and all that, and it's the same stuff every day, more or less, isn't it?
Was to run some rather extensive screening operation, where they would literally have to go through and look at
went so fucking
all the civilians and all of their vehicles and all of their wagons and or whatever else they were using to carry their.
Right, it's just after 11. I'm going to do the off shortly, so...
He's the first Democratic lawmaker to publicly call on Joe Biden to drop out of the presidential race amid lawmaking.
Now, down
for all no Brussels.
Oh yes, we've got some Bobo.
Did he refuse a three-way than usual? In
Right, so we'll figure out what's happening in France.
France, more than 200
Yep,
centrist
France.
and left-wing candidates have pulled out of the race in the hopes of blocking the far right from winning. The National
There
Rally
you go.
came out ahead in the first
Democracy,
round, and centrist and the
tactical
left-wing
voting.
alliance are now trying to stop the party from securing an absolute majority.
Nigel
President Emmanuel
Farage done it
Macron's
for the
risky gamble
Conservatives
has so far failed
5
to pay
years
off,
ago,
and he's likely to
the
spend the
last
rest
general
of his term
election.
in office with his hands tied. For more, we can go across to France 24's Clovis Casali, standing by at the Elysee Palace. Clovis, good afternoon. Now, a cabinet meeting has wrapped up. It was held today, like every Wednesday. This could
That's how
potentially
much
be the last
faith
one with Gabriel Attal
the
as Prime
people
Minister,
who
couldn't it?
keep the democracy scams
Indeed,
of the
this could
Western
well be
world
the last
going
cabinet meeting
have
for
in them.
Gabriel
They have to
Attal's,
get their
government.
they have
Of
to
course, you've got
tactically
Sunday's
vote
second round
to
of the
make sure
legislative
that
elections. There could
people
be a
they
cabinet
don't like
meeting after,
use
depending on the time
democracy
it takes
against
to
them.
form a new government, depending on
I mean,
the
that's how
results, of
much
course. I can tell you that
faith
the ministers, as
they
they
have
left
in the current
Elysee
model of
Palace,
democracy.
refused to make any long statements apart from say a few words such as, we are at work until the very end. We are very much committed to continuing our job the best we can. Then minutes ago there was the press conference of the government spokesperson who had strong words condemning the French far right. Marine Le Pen, the leader of the French far right, said yesterday that the French president was committing an administrative coup. According to her, he is rushing to make appointments as quickly as possible of high civil servants, this before a potential change of government, before a potential arrival of the French far right.
Corbyn, mellow out in the chat, man. I think you're putting other people off actually engaging. Just a tirade of fucking, right, you fucking think that way, mate, batter in.
Should read the Constitution. She knows, or she should know, that in any cabinet meeting you have appointments, and we haven't made more appointments than usual.
Clovis, I mentioned about these centrist and left-wing candidates that are stepping away in order to keep the far right from coming to power. On Sunday, after the first round, the Prime Minister, Gabriel Attal, said not one vote should go to the far right. Does everyone in that centrist alliance share that view?
Well, Prime Minister Gabriel Attal again this morning stated that everything needs to be done to prevent the French far right from getting into power, that no vote should go to the National Rally candidates, and that in 90% of cases, the candidates of his centrist bloc were pulling out of the race when they were three-way runoffs. This in order to help the other candidates, calling supporters to choose any candidate but the National Rally. But there are some important figures in the government who are having a slightly different position, notably Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire, who said that he refused to call voters to pick far-right candidates, but also far-left candidates. Far-left candidates, the radical left of France Unbowed, led by Jean-Luc Mélenchon, and that's, of course, a key component of the new Popular Front, the left-wing bloc. So as you can see, the Republican front, as we call it here, is slightly crumbling.
We'll see how things pan out. Thank you very much for that, Clovis.
Interesting.
Now, it's the last day of campaigning in the UK before Thursday's general election. The Labour Party is set for a landslide victory after 14 years of Conservative rule. The UK has seen 5 prime ministers come and go during that period, including Boris Johnson, who surprisingly hit the campaign trail just yesterday.
Is it not therefore the height of insanity, if these polls are right, that we are about to give Labour a supermajority?
The height of insanity, doing the same thing again, expecting different results, aka the elections.
Which they will use to make us nothing but the punk of Brussels, taking EU law.
Boris has made a
by
comeback.
with no say on how that law
At least he's a wee
is
bit
made.
interesting and
Paying for
entertaining.
Brussels budgets again. You watch, you watch.
Now, Boris is right to say now is the time for all Conservatives to come together to deny Labour that supermajority that Keir Starmer craves. We have 48 hours to save Britain from the danger of a Labour government.
Now, doubts continue to grow in the United States over whether Joe Biden is up for a second term in office. The president blamed travel for his debate
It's like
against
myself,
Donald Trump
you
last
may
week.
share
The administration has
there is
been
no
desperately
difference no
trying to
matter who
dismiss,
gets in.
last week's
I just want the
performance as a
entertaining
one-off.
characters.
But
So I
now
want
some
Boris
Democrats
Johnson.
are speaking out. Lisa
If
Kavanaugh.
the system doesn't collapse, I want people like Boris Johnson,
First Democratic lawmaker to
Donald
publicly
Trump,
call on Joe
and
Biden to
Nigel
drop out of the
Farage.
presidential
These are entertaining to
race amid
watch.
growing concern about the president's age and fitness for office. In a statement, Texas Congress said public
Administration has the United States over whether Joe Biden is up for a second term in office. The president blamed travel for his debate against Donald Trump last week. The administration has been desperately trying to dismiss last week's performance as a one-off, but now some Democrats are speaking out. Lisa Kavanaugh reports.
He's the first Democratic lawmaker
Anarchy wouldn't be any worse than we've got the now, mate.
drop out of the presidential race.
I don't want anarchy, man. I just want a reshuffling of the deck. You know, like a modernisation of all these institutions who have corruption and built into them. And they're so old and long in the tooth and so well respected that you can't even question these institutions.
And expose Trump's many lies. Recognizing that, unlike Trump,
scrap the cops, but start again. You know, like get rid of all
I'm
the.
hopeful that he will make the painful and difficult decision to withdraw.
Doggett is not alone in voicing concern following Biden's debate with Donald Trump on Thursday, during
From the
which
cops and
president
just start
stumbled
again,
over some
restructure the whole
responses,
fucking
and
thing.
his voice was
And I'm not
hoarse from
talking
an
about like
apparent cold.
disband the
Although
cops
she
and then you
commended
get
his
fucking
legislative
anarchy
achievements,
on the
former
streets.
House Speaker Nancy
Like that,
Pelosi said it was legitimate
you
to
need to
question
sit down and do it
Biden's
sensibly.
debate performance
Right,
was a
let's not
one-off
disband the
or a broader
cops
health
because then the shit will go crazy.
Again, I
You
think
have
it's
riots
a
on the
legitimate
street.
question to say,
So
is
let's.
this an episode or is this
Oh, I hate even use this word because it's
so when
loaded.
people ask
Let's
that
reform
question,
them
it's completely legitimate.
over time.
The president blamed his poor performance on jet lag after going on back-to-back trips to Europe. But Democratic leaders and donors are growing increasingly concerned about Biden's ability to win the presidential election in November. Keen to turn a page on the debate, the White House has announced a blitz of media events.
So let's refresh. It almost looks like Shoshack has been took down from within. Looks like Biden's getting took down from within. What was there? Oh, aye, and Macron in France called a snap election when all the polls for months now has been saying that Le Pen and her party were nailed on to come out on top. A lot of this doesn't make sense in a kind of way, or does it?
Events scheduled for Joe Biden to prove his ability to do the job well, starting with a meeting today with Democratic governors and congressional leaders.
Exactly,
followed
punk.
by
That's
a
what I
TV
want, man.
interview on Friday,
An absolute
trips
just
to Wisconsin
reframing of
and
everything.
Philadelphia on
Reframing of
Sunday,
democracy.
and a press
The
conference
fucking
at
the
the
setup
NATO
and the way
summit in
we've got it
Washington
just
next
now is a fucking joke.
Now, a judge in New
Look
York
what happened
has
in
delayed
Parliament the other
sentencing in
day.
Donald Trump's hush money trial from
The other
next
day,
week
the
to
other
the
week,
18th of
with
September. This after the former president asked for the chance to argue that he should
with the
be immune from
SNP.
prosecution. The move
The
comes after
SNP's
the
call
Supreme
for a
Court
permanent
ruling on
ceasefire in
presidential
Gaza getting usurped by the Speaker and Sir Keir Starmer working together to fuck up the mechanics. And there isn't a rule book you can look at and go, this is wrong. It's all fucking tradition. You know, and it's all fucking... And the Parliament is a fucking show. No decisions are made there. The questions and PMQs are vetted, and it all happens behind closed doors, in fucking closed rooms, wood-panelled fucking rooms, with old boys sitting in with the whips, making a decision. The whips go out and get the party in line. It's a scam. So I wouldn't want anarchy, man. Fuck that. I mean, I'm alright, I've got Claymore, but fuck that, man. I want the supermarket still to be open. I want to still be able to go and get a fucking shit meat burger. I want a deep fat fried fucking black pudding when I want one. I don't want anarchy.
In Kenya say over 270 people were arrested for criminal acts.
Democratically elected dictator.
Continue in the country despite
it's my idea. Monarchy! See all the shit that you've stole off the fucking, you've bleeded the country dryer? Keep it. Keep it. All your trinkets, all your fucking shiny bits, gold carriages, hussies. Boom! Keep it. Just cut that tie between fucking the monarchy and state once and for all, man. Fucking do what fucking Cromwell, couldn't he? See it through, finish your job. And I'm not even talking about getting down the French model and cutting off fucking all the cunts' heads. Save that for the old political class. But the royal family, go over there, keep your shiny trinkets and all that shit. We're just fucking going to, boom, sever you from state. The army, it's going to be the fucking British Republic fucking army. The police, it's going to be the fucking British Republic police force. They're not going to have to swear allegiance to fucking some fucking dude in a fucking shiny fucking hat. I mean, there's just some ideas, but can it be any worse than the shit-ass system we've got now? Oh, nothing says religion than fucking people dying in the name of fucking worshipping the shit. It's like, what do they call it? The Hajj or something? When they go and the Muslims go and dance around that big fucking square thing. Mecca. Do you know how many people die? I can't even remember the exact amount, but quite a lot of people die regularly doing that pilgrimage, and you're like, hi, fucking Muhammad's fucking working wonders, isn't he?
Other racing them silent at 2 p.m. in northern Mexico.
I think
of course.
There is a hurricane in hurricane season. Yeah, well used to it.
So early in the season.
So early. Oh, it's causing alarm. Oh, it came early, and it's a strong one during hurricane season. Oh, I bet you this doesn't even make the news in fucking Jamaica.
That's right, Delano, and that number is 6, the new number of days in a work week for some businesses in Greece.
I love this.
Of days in
number of the day, Charles.
That's right,
Sesame Street for fucking adults, man. This is brilliant.
Number of the day, Charles.
What's the letter of today, Bungle?
6, the new number of days in a work week for some businesses in Greece. The new regulation is now in effect. It was applied on July 1st, and it concerns businesses that provide round-the-clock services. It does not include food and tourism services. The move by the country's pro-business government is meant to boost productivity and employment and fight.
Punk, I think you're saying, yeah, that was sneaky. They're talking about what happened in the Parliament. It wasn't sneaky. It was beyond sneaky. It was unprecedented. It was the first ever time it happened. It went against hundreds of years of tradition. It fucked it pissed and it spat in the face of the SNP, all to usurp the Parliament voting on whether the Parliament should call for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. The wording was important. And it just got usurped. So a foreign country's interests were served by the Speaker and the leader of the so-called opposition getting in cahoots to fuck up the process. The Conservative Party didn't give a fuck because they didn't want they wouldn't have voted for the bill. And the SNP just get completely cut out the whole scenario because they were begging questions that Parliament, who runs that Parliament, who can pull the strings of the people who are important in the running of that Parliament according to tradition. It's like the British Constitution. Show me the British Constitution. Go and print it off. We're meant to be a constitutional monarchy and we don't have a fucking written down fucking constitution. It's just made up. I'm not even shitting you. It's fucking made up by fucking cunts and funny wigs. Funny costumes, arguing about shit that's happened before, and I'm talking about fucking in the 14th, 13th, fucking 15th century shit. So, shit needs an update. Those royal fucking leeches need cut the fuck out. Don't even need to do it French Revolutionary style. They can keep their shiny bits of shit. Put a collection box outside Buckingham Palace and you can make your money that way, because we all know how much money the royal family bring in when fucking in tourism. Do you know what to bring in more money in tourism? A public fucking guillotine. Boom! For the fucking political class. We could have one every weekend. Right outside Buckingham Palace. Where were the gallows down in London? Must have been Hunners down in London. But we'll get the gallows out and make that a spectacle for the tourists. And then when all the human rights motherfuckers are, you can't cut people's heads off with a guillotine. They go, but it's bringing in money for the tourists. Boom! See, I'd be a great dictator. A democratically elected dictator in chief. And then, like, see, even dictator just means like what I say would go, but everything that the public wanted to vote on would be voted on using a digital ability. So it would be my job as the democratically elected dictator to carry out the will of the majority of the people, and it wouldn't be bogged down in party politics. It would just be 51% gets it. So whatever 51% win, it would be a yes or no. It wouldn't be, not every clown of the circus would be able to offer up their amendments and their fucking fancy words to bamboozle cunts with bullshit and get it fucking through the lawyers. It'd be very simple, plain speaking questions, yes or no, for people who want to engage, and then the 51% gets it. And it'd be my job as a dictator, which I could be removed from. But what I'm talking about is just getting rid of all this pish fucking party political politics. Yes, let's get the Raven Looney Monster fucking party to the table, because we all know that they got a few thousand votes, so they need a say. Fuck that, they're fucking crackpots. The people elect the person they want to carry out the people's will, and there's no need for fucking pigs at the fucking trough. Boom! Scottish Parliament fucking bulldozed. In fact, now stick a wee collection plate outside and get gallows, get a guillotine and some gallows outside the Scottish Parliament. Take care of the fucking the political fucking pigs at the trough class up here. Boom, 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 boom. That'll in fact date on fucking King Arthur's seat so their heads can roll down off the fucking cliff. That would be a spectacle and a half, man. The tourists will love it. You get a wee fucking gun salute from the Edinburgh Castle, and then as soon as you get the gun salute, boom, down with the guillotine, head rolls down King Arthur's seat, and then you've got the tourists all up the top of King Arthur's seat to see the head coming off, and then you've got the tourists down the bottom to see the head just roll down. And then we'll need to get some public spikes to display the political classes' heads on, and just to warn motherfuckers, see if we fucking start lording it over the people and dipping into the people's pocket for your own camper vans, and because you're a pig at the fucking trough, your head ends up there in the guillotine and rolling down King Arthur's seat into this basket down the bottom. Then we'll put your head in the fucking spike. So don't get any ideas. That's just the way I would work it, but I need to get the I need to fucking get the revolution on the go. I'm saying that half in jest, but like I'm it's happened before. The French Revolution, and that was brought around with a great fear. So who's to say fucking this great fear that everybody's going through? You know, water's going to kill you, food's going to kill you, Illuminati's going to kill you. There's literal walking demons on this earth like Hillary Clinton and Bill Gates, because they might be scumbag human beings, but no, they're really demons. Alex Jones installed that in some people's heads. Man, imagine the internet and a fat man in Texas being able to reframe your head to the extent where you think human beings, they're not just scumbags, they're not just gangsters, they're fucking demons. Anyway, let's listen to some news. Enough about my democratically elected dictatorship.
But it's also been met with a really
The whole system needs
from labor unions,
sneaky. Square mile in London makes all the decisions, and anarchy has a different meaning to one I'm on about. Oh, I get you, mate. Anarchy means I know what you mean, man. It can be organised anarchy and all that jazz. I get you.
Where do you feel on?
In the square mile of London, it's not square and it's not a mile, but it's the square mile. Just like Washington DC, the District of Columbia is in a 10 square. Is 10 square miles.
Were the top stories we're covering for you here on France 24.
I don't know if you've ever seen that. Right, it's 11:30. I'm going to do the off. But before I do, let's look at a map. Love my maps. Sure. See the 10 square mile Washington DC? Don't know if you can see that. Maybe if I put the satellite on, it'll show you better. Nah. See, up there to there, down to there, down to Alexander. Alexander's right on the bottom square, right up to Falls Church, and then back up to Silver Spring. And that is the District of Columbia. So you get the square mile of London, and you've got the 10 square mile of Washington DC. Both principalities have their own police force laws, regulations, etc., etc., etc. So I hear you, Hasdak. And tune in tomorrow. I'm going to go early doors into the city centre and hold my own. I need to get this stick down. No vote. Oh fuck, I had it, man. No voting, no vote. Vote. I need to get my stick down. But are you voting today? Do you want to register your no vote? Do you want to have a no vote? Something like that. I'll get it down. But I'll just be trying to gauge how disillusioned. And again, I won't be shouting about 5G, chemtrails, fluoride, the food's going to kill you, the air's going to kill you, the water's killing you, 5G's killing you, vaccinations, pedophiles. I won't be going down any of those routes that like can drive people fucking manic. It puts people off. I'll just be simply going, are you voting today? No. Do you want to register your no vote? With this vote? Vote. And then I'll start talking about trying to get... Because I don't need to jump in any social media bubble, any cult-like thinking to resonate my point of view that the system is self-serving and it's never going to correct itself. Everybody, a lot of people are on that page, and the trick, if you want to call it that, of the internet is to get you in a social media bubble, getting manic about 5G, flat earth, fluoride. The list goes on and on and on. They're aware of all the rabbit holes that are out there that some people get driven manic about, to the extent they'll get a megaphone and sit in the middle of George Square. 5G's going to fucking kill you. Well, 5G's going on about, and everybody's fucking just as mental and as unhealthy as they were with 4G, 3G, 2G, 1G, GG. So I'll just be, do you want to register your discontent with this whole system and the fact that you're not voting. I'm not asking for names for anybody to vote for anybody or an ideology. It's just to try and get that turnout as low as fucking possible. So then we can, then they cannot stand, the political class cannot stand in front of us and say, I represent you. You represent a very small proportion of people that you've managed, probably your family and the political party apparatus that you're part of, because no cunt else fucking cares. These are all self-serving, money-grabbing pigs at the fucking trough. A political class that falls out of the university, the rejects of university, you know, and they come out thinking they know better than every cunt else. And all now, modern day ones as well, man, with the advent of Google and the internet, everybody's a smart arse. That's why everybody's so extreme. You know, if it's saving the planet for your Just Stop Oil, to fucking Tommy Robinson mobs, I mean, the list goes on, and your LGBT blah 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 mob. You had the people out fucking getting manic about the ULEZ stuff and all that came in. Fuck. Vaccinations. That drove people fucking off their tits as well, didn't it? I don't know. I just see things differently. But I'm not trying to, I don't want to, God forbid, shove any of my shit down people's throats. But what I want to do tomorrow is try and gauge how unengaged the real people, not the internet windy licking fucking social media bubble people, because that is not a cross section of your shitty, your country. It's not. If you get sucked into these social media bubbles, you'll start thinking Tommy Robinson get arrested for eating breakfast. There's a tranny apocalypse. I mean, I would love to. I might even date one day a poll. Like, when was the last time you seen a dude in a dress? And even more than that, when was the last time you heard or seen in real life, away from this windy licking fucking reality, in real life, a problem with a dude in a dress trying to get into changing rooms or a toilet or some crap like that? When? I must be living in a parallel universe. The last time I'm pretty sure I seen a dude in a dress was, this is ironic because I'm going to say like a couple of weeks ago when I was doing the Clydeside, I'm pretty sure it was a dude in a dress walking by, right? Just themselves, walking by, harming no cunt, not fucking running around trying to get into guys or women's toilets or any shit like that. I was walking along a walkway, funnily enough, along the Clydeside. Before that, I couldn't even tell you the last time I'd seen a dude in a dress in real life. Must have been years. And probably when I was hanging about down where a couple of the gay clubs and all that are down in Glasgow. And again, in my whole life, 42 years, I've never, ever in real life came across a problem, a scenario in real life where there's some sort of a problem with a dude in a dress in toilets. Never came across it. But yeah, turn on the internet, there's fucking trannies in nurseries reading out atrocious stories to kids and all that. I'm pretty sure the apparatus is there to whip your kids away from any of that if you want. The argument whether it should or shouldn't be happening, right, that's an argument to be had. But most people that get their fucking knickers in a twist with this are getting turned manic through the social medias online when they probably don't even have a child, or their children aren't engaged in any of this. But they see it online, one scenario where this might have happened, or does happen, or is happening, and then they read the comments and look at the likes and the views. Everybody feels the same way. I'm all in. You know, then the human condition of tribalism kicks in, and you're fucking like, before you know it, man, you've got your pitchfork out and fucking think there's a tranny apocalypse. This in the list of people's priorities right now. Real people, not social media bubbles. not social media forums where you fall into cults. But in real life, trannies and toilets are way down the list of priorities. Do you want to know why? Because it's no affecting cunts on a day-to-day basis, if at all, ever in their life. Again, and I'm no staying in a bubble. I'm talking about across it. You walk into a boozer, people on the up for, alright, you fucking trannies, guarding the women's toilets, checking if a fucking anybody in a dress has got a dick before they go in, you know? This isn't happening. I don't know, maybe I'm staying, fucking hell, Glasgow's quite a metropolitan city, you know? You do get fucking all sorts in Glasgow, man, in droves, if not in higher droves than your average, because relatively speaking, I think Glasgow's one of the larger cities in the United Kingdom. Still, especially with all its outlying wee sort of towns and whatnot. So you get all sorts in Glasgow, man, all sorts. But I don't see this tranny apocalypse which social media is selling to people to get people riled up, because it's dead easy to rile people up about that, innit? You throw in a chick with a dick in a toilet with a young person scenario, and everybody's like, we need to fucking clamp down on all these trannies. Where's all these trannies? Anyway, man, that's just a wee rant. Thanks, Punk. Hashtag, everybody. You should come to Telford. There's tons of tranny. Hashtag, stop hanging about the gay clubs, mate. He runs the Perfect in a dress down the market. There's no representation for the English. It's all way British shite. I'm not registered to vote, and it also affects your credit score. Oh, aye, by the way, I never realised that. I've had shit through the door on that. Excellent idea. I'll get the t-shirts made up for the promo. Shit, I forget what idea I was on about there. It's all show kip. So Hasdak Punk, thanks for joining. Doberman, thanks for joining, my man. He let off some steam. Roberto was in earlier as well. Stick a wee thumbs up, share it with your friends, family, foes. So if you like politics, but you're sick of the tits, then get your fix from my Daily PoliTITS. So tomorrow, I don't think tomorrow just sub and bail up. Because it's the city centre, and I've not got my new phone yet. I think I'll record it and then upload it rather than try and live stream, because live stream can be a pain in the shitter. And Peter was in earlier as well. Live stream can be an absolute shitter from the city centre, because there's so many people sucking the juice, sucking the 5G cancer right out there. So they are. Hashtag, do you want to know something weird, buddy? I don't know. I'm assuming you're in Telford, buddy, or in and around that area. I used to work with a guy in Telford years and years ago, man. Must have been about 20 years ago now, actually, in a call centre. His name, he had the funniest surname. I'd never heard it before. I don't know if it's an English one, but his surname was Me. M-E-E. Well, anyway, you live and you learn. So, tune in tomorrow, sub up and bail up, and I'll stick this stuff up. I need to dust down my... Oh, shit. I do need to dust it down. But, need to get rid of all the shite I've got in it. But I've already got my polling blocks. It's a wee bit battered and bruised for previous elections, so I'll be using it again. And I can't even remember where I got this shoebox from. Well, kind of obvious, isn't it? But it wasn't intentional or anything. It was just like a quirk of fate. And then, because it's the nanny state voting box. Are you voting today? no? Do you want to register your no vote with this vote? I need to get that stick down, man. I'll get any ideas which stick can I use tomorrow, man? I used to use vote us, not them. But then people are like, who am I voting for? You? And I'm like, no, and I have to go into fucking diatribes of my pish. So I'm going to stick with register your discontent. This, a pen and paper, and a tripod. I need to dust all that shit out, down, and get it out. That's what I'll be doing tomorrow. And I'll do it for as long as I can be arsed. Grab a few pints, and then head home and upload it in the boozer. Depending how my battery works out. And all that jazz. Not a local surname. It's just a very... He was English, you know what I mean? Funnily enough, do you want to know... when I worked with him for a while, he was like my coach when I just worked there. You know, he just sat there and fucking listened in and wrote shit down on a bit of paper, and we had a good bit of crack. But it was him that started me saying, or using the term buddy. And up until then, I was like, mate. It was always mate. And then he used to go, alright, buddy. And I picked up on it, man. Me is French. Do you know what? I was going to stab in the dark there and say that, but... So, punk, hashtag, have a nice day. And try and stay away from the TV, man. It's fucking body and fucking electioneering. Come into my parlour. I'll give you gold bars. Gold bars for everybody. So, tune in tomorrow and you'll see my election. Get it? Got it. Good. Get cheese. No cats or cheese. Oh,
Chips,
shit.
clips.
And remember. Give me a rewind. The poll. I need to remember to start doing this. So there's been 13 votes on the poll. Will Biden be forced to step down before the election? Most tellingly, 0% for no. Right, so there's 38% not sure, 62% yes. It's in fact, it's inevitable. You can't have members of your own party in public, not even in private, not even leaked, but openly calling for him to step down and for him to do it. He can't even go on stage and admit that his faculties are failing him and go, elect me president. I mean, there's one thing that, like, anybody, everybody, worldwide seeks from a leader, and it's some form of strength. And I don't mean Arnold Schwarzenegger strength, but, you know, the ability to fucking walk up and down stairs is a good start. To be able to hold a conversation and know where you are. I mean, how the fuck does that guy go into rooms with world leaders and hold his own? Could you ever imagine him negotiating anything with any world leader that I know right now? Never mind Putler. Can you imagine him getting in the room negotiating with that wee Houthi guy? You know, man, fucking Biden would have a fucking heart attack, man. Anyway, so that's the poll. And because it's not about Nigel Farage and reform, it's not been spammed. You know, I think the last poll, which I cancelled, had about 40 or 50 votes on it. Because the bat signal had been put out. Somebody saying bad things about our dear leader. And then you get all of Nigel Farage's windy-licking online army come by, thumbs it down, fuck with the poll, because they think that's actually achieving something. the crazy thing is, nowadays it clearly does. You know, people gravitated towards the internet for conspiracies, Bigfoot, UFOs, JFK. Next thing you know, they're voting for Donald Trump and UKIP. What kind of weird ass and people think I'm nuts for saying that the people who electioneer for the right side of politics got inside people's nuts using conspiracy, and they think that's crazy. They don't. A lot of people still bump their gums about conspiracies and stuff and no realising they get sucked in. They get sold that as a vehicle to get you to vote UKIP, fucking Le Pen, Wilders, Trump, Orban. I'm learning his name because he's going to be a major player move forward. I mean, surely now we enough people that have been hung around this media for long enough can step back and go, whew, that's what happened. How did Alex Jones manage to lead me to the UK column, UKIP, fucking Donald Trump supporting? They're coming for our guns. I stay in the UK. That's so stupid. Unbelievable. The politically groomed people through the power of conspiracy. Shit, right, that's nearly 12 bells. I'm getting out of here. Have a nice day, y'all, and I'll see you tomorrow. Biden Jr. is in charge. He sits in a lot of meetings. I've heard that as well, hashtag. In fact, I covered it on that Fox News thing that she had to explain why Hunter was going into that meeting. Also, as well, as the Trump machine gets into gear, one thing that they're pushing home at the moment, and you'll see it from all angles, is that his missus is in charge as well. You know, it's the family, it's the power-hungry family that's keeping him in place right now. Fucking Joe doesn't know where the fuck he is. Oh, there's another vote in. 15 votes. And somebody said no. Oh, sorry, 55 man, I'm going to jump my bike. But you can feel free to replay it, my man. And stick a wee thumbs up. So, thanks everybody. I'm going to do the off. 55, nice to see you in. And it's the poll ended. So people can see the poll results, I'm sure. Yeah. All good in the hood. So thanks everybody. Have a nice weekend. Tune in tomorrow for the Kips Clips Election Spectacular. Get it? Got it. Good. Cat cheese. No cats or cheese were harmed in the filming. Kips Clips. And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And $19.95 plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell.